Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pop Corner episode 6. And today we just got, it's super late right now, so if a little bit more quiet, child upstairs. But it's super late for us, recording wise. But we just watched Scream 6.
7 o'clock showing, and it's actually an early showing, so we went before Friday.
Yes, yeah. So if this episode comes out on a Friday, it'll basically be a miracle, but we'll see how it goes.
Heck yeah.
Normally, we have been doing like an introductory kind of warm-up question. We're going to skip that today, and we're going to kind of forego that in favor of doing our non-spoilery review first.
Yep.
We'll probably do that for about maybe 10-15 minutes, and then the rest of the video after that will be full spoilers.
The juice.
Yes, and I will have a timestamp of when the spoiler ends, but don't worry, you'll get the full effect of our review in the opening non-spoilery section. We'll just kind of describe why we like, or I guess hypothetically dislike the movie in the second half, not going to lie.
I just want to say, if it wasn't for the fact that it's super late, I would be super ecstatic, like speaky-wise.
Yes.
Because I am hyped. That movie was hype.
Yep.
I was hyped going in, and I'm hyped coming out.
Okay, well, I guess with that being said, we can get right into it again. No spoilers. This is Scream 6. They follow up to the direct reboot, sequel, requel, Scream 5. And with that being said, what's your overall thoughts?
All right, so, well, this, again, of course, is the non-spoiler section, so we won't talk about killers, kills, nothing like that. We'll keep it straight up.
Broad strokes. Broad strokes.
So the movie, as we all know, if you've seen the trailers, is set in New York City this time, the Big Apple. Jason tried it once. That movie is seen as a yikes.
Ghostface takes Manhattan.
Ghostface 100% took Manhattan here, I would say.
Took me.
Ooh. So we start off in New York City, and with the trailers, I guess we'll talk about it in spoilers, technically, if we just don't want to say anything that hasn't been said before this movie. Right. But they do explain why they're in New York. It's not just like, oh, hey, we're spawning them here just because. But there is a reason that our group here is in New York.
I think that's reasonable enough to... I think we could probably say the reason.
Yeah, we'll keep it.
You don't think?
Yeah, we'll just say anything that is already generally known from trailers.
Okay.
So they're going to New York, and Ghostface is going crazy, going ham here. And from the trailers, you can see that he is a lot more threatening. He is out for blood.
Yes.
And dang, does he go ham?
This movie is 100% visceral.
Cotton.
100% cotton, that's for sure. That's a callback. And just like that callback there, this movie does the same thing that Scream 5 does. And there's a lot of references to the rest of the franchise. We see that Kirby, a character from Scream 4, returns. As well as, of course, Gale Weathers, portrayed by Courtney Cox, previously Arquette. But that's fine. And it's no secret that those are the only two... those are the two
returning
legacy characters
that are legacy.
Yeah, that are, they're touted out. And, this movie does, in fact, not have Sidney.
Yeah.
Which we knew that.
I was going to say, I mean, if you were one of the ones hoping that Sidney was secretly in here, it's not really a spoiler because they already confirmed that she's not in it, and she's not in it.
Yeah.
But, we'll talk about it in spoiler things, but there are theories of Stu coming back. We'll touch on that in spoiler section because they never... said yes, and they never said no. So we'll talk about that in spoiler section.
Yeah,
but Sidney is a no-go. So if you were hoping Sidney does secretly make her way in here, I'm going to break it to you. She's not.
Yes. But I guess as an overall thought, like we already talked about, there's a lot of those references to earlier movies, which made Scream 5 and really gave me confidence with this production company.
Radio Silence. You're the GOAT.
I think in that instance, I think they have completely gained my trust for Scream 7 whenever that does come out.
Officially in writing, by the way.
Officially in writing, and I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But I think the meta commentary is still here as well. That kind of lives on with Mindy.
Yeah, because
I always want to say Mandy.
With Scream 5, we obviously meet Mindy, which is related to Randy, and she carries on his genes very well. She is super nerdy, super meta, this is what happens in horror movies. She does it very well, and I think she's definitely the closest to Randy. Maybe Kirby was good in 4, but I think Mindy probably carries the torch as the most Randy-ish we've ever gotten since him. we've seen other nerdy characters, but never as good as Mindy, in my opinion. But with all these characters in mind, we do get introduced with new characters you see in the trailers, and just like 5, I feel like they're all well liked. Some get more scenes than others, and it's not because, like, if you've never seen our podcast before, we talk about Scream 3, where like Scream 3 specifically, there's a lot of characters you kind of just don't remember their names.
Yeah.
First time watching this, I remember like everyone's name right off the rip. So
Yeah, I'm just bad with names, so don't take anything that I'm doing as any kind of bit of confidence. But I guess with the idea of characters in mind, one thing I did want to talk about in the review is that all of these characters felt like there was ample enough screen time.
Yeah.
One issue I had in previous films was that the killers or killer, whatever the situation is, didn't get enough screen time to where it was feasible for me as the viewer to outsmart or figure out who the actual killer is before the reveal. Now, I think this movie was a little bit different in that regard. I think every character gets pretty even. I mean, unless, of course, there's a character killed off early on.
Yeah.
They don't get even screen time. But they're not the killer.
Yeah,
So.
there's not a character that's in this movie that is just like completely just forced in the background that you're like, oh, I forgot this character existed.
Right.
Like everyone is showing up all the time. Like you know the characters, you know the names, you know their characteristics.
Yep.
Whether it be from the old like legacy characters to like the old like Scream 5 characters to the newer ones that are added. And yeah, I think all the characters are amazing. There's a few we'll talk about, but overall, great. I think so. Like if you enjoyed 5, I just want to say if you enjoyed Scream 5, you will love this movie.
Yeah.
I personally
can
think that
agree with
this
that.
movie was better than 5.
This movie,
But I love 5, so
looking at it in a sense of like franchises, you've got Scream 1 to Scream 2. And then, think whatever you want about Scream 2 as a movie, how well it works as a sequel. And that is a almost direct continuation of the first movie. This movie is very similar in that regard. Obviously, there's liberties taken in between those gaps in movie. But I think Scream 6 works better as a sequel to Scream 5 than Scream 2 works for Scream 1, like the original movies.
gotcha.
So I really I enjoy this movie a lot. I do have some criticisms, but I don't know. None of it really outweighs anything. But if I had to, kind of levy some criticisms, and I promise I'll get into it more,
With the spoiler.
with the spoilers. But as visceral and as bloody, gruesome, disgusting as some of the kills were in this movie.
Yeah, like what they do say. Sorry to cut you off here.
No, yeah, you're good.
I was just gonna implement on that is that like they weren't lying when they said this is the goriest and like ruthless Ghostface ever in the movie.
Right.
Like he goes crazy. He does not care.
Special shout out to the opening scene. I loved it. It was
so
great.
good.
And while we'll talk about that opening scene in our spoiler discussion, definitely one of my favorite openings, which is like,
That's what I was gonna ask because there was a lot of people who like saw it and was critically reviewing it from like the big critics who got it early.
Yeah.
They were saying that this was the opening, like the best opening since the original. Do you agree with that? Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
I was just curious because that's one big thing that a lot of people have been seeing is that a lot of the bigger critics were saying that this is the best since the original, and it's up there,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so while there are many positives in the sense of, the opening scene and, the very gory kills, everything like that, and there are kills, there are plenty of kills, however you want to say it, or at the very least attacks. No spoilers, but I feel like the movie just really doesn't want to pull the trigger half the time with some of these characters.
I feel like this is the movie that like there's a lot more like you think they might be dead or you think they might die, but then they don't.
Yes,
This
yeah.
one does that a lot.
It does-
We won't obviously say characters, like certain characters here. We won't name who until later, but there are a few characters that get the work.
Yes.
And then they're just like, all right.
Unreasonably so, and then the movie just says, "Oh, we'll let them live." And this was an issue I have with Scream 5, that they did the same thing. They didn't kill enough of the newly introduced characters. Now, I kind of set that aside with the idea that with Scream 6, they could potentially use that for emotional value and kill off some of these characters. And while I won't spoil anything, it doesn't use that to its full effect. Leave that as what it was. That was one of my bigger issues. Did you have any complaints with the movie?
Not really. It's really hard for me because like all the other Scream movies that we reviewed, I've seen them billions of times. If this is your first time watching, because this is a new movie, I'm like the biggest Scream fan.
Yes.
I am like all Scream 1 through 5, love them all. Even 3 though, even though that's definitely the downfall of the series and the only one that I would say is like objectively not that good.
Yeah.
I'll stand by the entire series that it's consistently good. And I would say that like with this freshly in my mind and not being able to critique it a lot like I have the others over time,
Yeah.
there's not a lot other than the same that you have, is that there are certain characters that you're like, they're alive, they lived, or like I'm surprised they didn't die. Like,
Right.
but like there's a lot of kills in here with that in mind too. Like it's even though that they kind of like ease off some characters and don't pull the trigger. There's a lot of people that die in this movie.
Yes.
Like, I feel like
yeah.
one of my things with 5 is that there wasn't a whole lot of deaths. Mm-hmm. With this one, there is a lot. Like even though they pull back on some, they still go ham. There's a lot of kills here.
I agree.
And I never actually kept count on what the kill count was, but I would say it's definitely one of the higher ones.
Yeah.
He goes in.
He ghosts in. But another thing in comparing this movie to its predecessor, Scream 5, that I wanted to say was that while Ghostface definitely does come off as more deadly in this movie overall, all around, an issue I had was that Scream 5 felt like it understood what Ghostface needed to be as like an iconic character, like a slasher villain all around. It had the incredible shots that, you know, they look like they could be a wallpaper at any given time.
Yeah, they shot 5 amazingly.
5 was an incredibly well shot movie, and this movie's a little more, I want to say personal, a lot more close to the vest. You know, it's following the characters more closely. Not as many as those wide out shots where you get a lot of those really cool moments.
I was gonna say
They're not gone,
Yeah,
but there's definitely not as many, and honestly, some of the best ones are shown in the trailer.
yeah. There are still a lot of good shots in this movie. Like I wouldn't say that they completely just yoinked them out.
Oh,
it was
definitely
like, oh man, we don't need to worry about that anymore. But I do think 5 was shot fairly better because the best pictures that I think of Ghostface is in 5.
Yes.
Like that hospital scene, one of the coolest looking shots of Ghostface ever.
Right.
In my opinion. But Ghostface looks super sick in this movie. And as you see from the trailer, we won't really talk about it until spoilers, but in the trailer you realize that like he's got a worn down mask. So like he's looking a lot different in this one than your traditional just new white mask. Mm-hmm. And that comes into play a lot. Like there's a reason that it's used, and I really love the plot and the arc of as to why it's being used and as to
That's fair.
what's going on. And I just want to say that like it was so good. It's hard to like say how amazing it was. Like the movie, I don't want to like I try to think of negatives, but like
I have 2 more I can throw
go
out
for
right
it.
now.
For me, it's hard to come with negatives because it's so good.
You can defend, I'll attack, but
Go
I
for
still loved this movie. And when we get into our, I want to say final verdicts, but it's, you know, just for the non-spoilery section, we'll give our, you know, number scores. But 2 other, like, these are much more minor critiques. One of them a little bit more. I don't think it uses the setting as well. New York, big city.
You don't think so?
I think the closest it comes to doing what I wanted this movie to do a lot of was the train scene.
Yeah.
Crowded environments,
Yeah.
and, you know, the fear isn't that you're alone with the killer. The fear is that you don't know who the killer is.
They use
and
that a
you're
lot, though. They do use it, like...
They do,
I know what you mean.
but it mostly comes from the friend group and the larger cast of friends being confined to the apartment or, you know, another location that we'll get into later.
Yeah, a lot of...
But that train scene stands out to me as
I agree.
Superb.
Most of the scenes are with our, like...
Yes.
Group, and like there's not a lot of scenes where like they're out in public. Like I know what you mean. Like they're not out in public in like the train area but like those scenes when they do pop up, they're cracked. They're shot and they're done very well. And like there's a lot of misdirects in this movie, by the way.
Right.
Like I'm gonna be real honest with you before like obviously I won't say character names. I guessed partially correct. That's what I'll say, because I don't want to say if there is a killers. I'll just say that when it comes to guessing the killers or whatever, I would give myself like a little bit of credit, but not a lot.
That's fair.
I don't know what you stated. I don't know if you guessed anything correctly or not, but
I had the right idea, but wrong premise. And
Yeah,
there's another thing. There's actually a complaint I have that I can't talk about without doing spoilers. So maybe I'll talk about that first when we go into spoilers. That way, right
get
after.
off. Yeah, get it
Yeah,
off.
we'll
Just
just
from here.
write it right there. But otherwise, did you notice? And this is just me, my dumb brain. As soon as the first 20 minutes of the movie, how many songs played? How many different licensed songs played in the first 20 minutes of the movie?
I didn't really pay attention, to be honest.
I
Was there a
shit
lot,
you not.
or-
I swear, every scene change, there was a new song. And a lot of them, like, I'm not saying you can't have pop songs in a movie like this or whatever. Or, like, I didn't know all the songs. That's not what I'm getting at either. But it just felt like it was jarring to me.
That's interesting. I didn't even catch that. So
I found it taking me out of the experience just for a minute. At the same time, it was counteracting the incredible acting in this movie.
Oh, dude.
I think the acting, phenomenal.
With acting. All the characters are amazing,
Yes.
but I just want to point out that with Scream 5, a lot of people I saw on the internet were talking about Sam's character.
Yes,
Sam's character, I think her name's like Melissa or something in real life.
I'm not sure.
But she got a lot of hate for Scream 5. Like, there's a lot of fans that I saw on Twitter, like, actually, like, straight up harassing her to that point. To where, like, dude, don't do that, first of all. If you don't like someone's character or acting,
Does she
whatever.
have a Twitter?
I think so.
She better.
But, like, to any person who goes out there and harasses actors because, oh, they weren't good at this character, stop. I'm sorry,
Right.
stop. But, like,
Most of the time, it's the script they're given anyway.
yeah, but like 5, she was good. Like, I don't even know why people were like, hey, like, I think that like in 5 she was a little bland, but she wasn't bad either, and her acting was great. I don't know why anyone got that idea of like, oh, she acted horribly. But I think that's just because everyone was on the train of like Jenna Ortega,
Yeah.
which Jenna Ortega is amazing anyway. But I just wanted to point that out, that like a lot of people had doubts on Sam's character in 5, and in 6, dude, I feel like she carries. Scream 6, she is one of like, dude,
Outstanding turnaround.
Amazing.
Like where I don't agree that she was bad in 5. I definitely thought she was a lesser interesting character.
Yeah.
The best plot point being, spoilers for Scream 5, that she is Billy Loomis's daughter.
yes.
Now this time around, it's, I don't know if there was criticism heard and received. Her plot line, her just the way she carries herself as a character is just far more interesting.
Yes.
And it definitely felt like they kind of gave her the Sydney arc of, facing your fears.
Yeah, instead of running away from it. Yeah.
And like it happened at a much faster and honestly refreshing like rate.
Yeah.
And like, she goes into this movie, of course she's like, she's prepared, I would say, a little more, we'll get into it, of course, but I just really, overall, I found the acting of this movie enjoyable. I found the way it handles Ghostface super, super enjoyable, watching the bloody, visceral, the violence, honestly,
Yeah.
quite frankly. This movie is like, it's not sleek about it.
Yeah, it straight up shows you everything, dude.
Yeah.
It goes all out.
It's
and
great.
Like, and it's one of those things that I was worried about specifically going into this movie. The thing I like about Scream is not only is it a thriller slasher, the comedic effect is what also reels me in. I love the meta commentary stuff, and I love the comedic effect that like some characters give off and like the references to movies. And going into this movie, I was kind of worried because the trailers don't show any of that other than like that he's coming in, he's gory, he's going for slashing, he's shotgunning it up. Like, one of the things I was worried about is that these things would be discarded, but they're not. They're in there.
And I think this movie strikes the right balance.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, honestly, I do think 5 was a little light on the comedy.
Yeah.
All things considered, and that tackled a heavy subject in 5 as well with Dewey's death, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But Scream 6, I think the comedy shines through a lot through the returning characters, and then just funny moments, like moments they're not set as a joke in the movie,
But to us, it's hilarious.
but to us, it's like, like a character just being dumb or completely oblivious to a scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny to us as the viewer, and I think that's done really well.
I mean, it's not really a spoiler because it doesn't really matter other than for the funny joke. What do we call the 4?
Oh, the core 4 is what we're
The
going
core
for.
4.
Yeah, which no one likes, of course, but Chad. And so, yeah, there's that. But without going,
Yeah,
we're about
should,
20 minutes
we
in.
should go to the spoiler section. But like, I just wanted to say, since we're doing the non-spoiler section here, that like, watch the movie. The
Yeah.
movie. If you're a fan of Scream, like it doesn't matter. Like, if you didn't like 5, give it a chance because I personally think 6 was loads better, and I love 5. Like going into this movie, I was like, I don't know if it'll be better than 5 because the reviews were saying it was, and
Right.
it is, in my opinion. But like, if you're a fan of Scream in general, like any of the movies, I think you'll enjoy this one. There's a lot of twists. There's a few scenes where the tension in this movie is crazy. This is the most tension Scream movie ever. I was on the edge of my seats for certain scenes.
I know.
I was literally like, oh God, is this gonna happen? Is this gonna happen? Like they don't pull punches when it comes to tension in this one.
It was a really enjoyable experience, and yes, I agree. Base level review. Go and see this movie as soon as you can. You don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, don't be spoiled. Funny enough, he was spoiled for something, and it was incorrect. So
Yes.
it's hilarious.
Yeah, so what I was expecting wasn't even true. So I would love to say that I went into it with an expectation of, maybe who or how many killers there would be or whatever, and I was just wrong. So that was a fun
Twist.
kind of a nice little misdirect here.
Yeah.
But with that being said, no further ado on
Let's
this.
get your rating because you had more negatives than I did. I don't really have much to say
Okay.
for negatives. So
Okay.
I want to see your rating, and then I'll give mine, and
So-
spoiler, baby.
So for if you haven't seen the previous episodes for Scream 1, that was at the time, of course, first movie, highest rated Scream movie I had with 8, leaning 8.5. And that's, we do a 0.5 scale up till 10, of course. And 2 and 3, they degraded in quality. 4, it was up a little bit more, but I still didn't love it as much as the original.
Yeah.
Scream 5, I gave it the same exact score as Scream 1. 8, leaning 8.5.
Okay.
Now, everything I've said so far, a lot were minor nitpicks that kind of mildly took me out of the experience, but it doesn't change the fact that this movie has the best as far as tension. It really leans into it, something that I didn't like about the first Scream movie. It didn't really lean into it as much as I would have loved.
Okay.
And then, with that being said, it builds on these characters and emotions that Scream 2 never even did. Not in the same way. And overall, I really think that from, mild, cinematic shots, maybe toned down a bit, the kind of up close and personal nature and the gore, it all comes together to me to be an 8.5 leaning into a 9.
So
I'm rating this the highest I've rated a Scream movie.
Okay.
And I know,
Okay.
I really
If anyone's watching still, you tick them off immediately.
Why?
I don't know, just because everyone. I mean, Scream the original, man. It's a classic.
Listen, I'm really struggling with the idea of I just saw this movie. It's a bias.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we'll rewatch later, and then we'll see what we
But
think.
that's why I really wanted to vocalize specifically my criticisms to get that out there. But really, I think the high points of this movie outshine certain points of the previous. Now, the only thing I can really say over that Scream 1 truly has over this movie there's 2 things actually.
All right.
Nostalgia,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
And an incredible cast.
Okay.
But this cast is superb.
Yeah, this cast is amazing.
I'm not even trying to compare them, but I think this cast is just as reasonably good.
They're just as memorable.
Yes.
All the characters
100%.
are 100% memorable.
So
That you can't say about 2, 3, and 4 very often, except maybe one character which they bring back, Kirby. All the other characters are kind of whatever.
Yes, and this movie has the benefit of bringing in legacy characters. So overall, I just really think this movie's good, and 8.5 is where I sit.
Okay. Well, I am the biased Scream fan here, so I've loved every movie ever since the original. And with these reviews, I tried to keep my bias out of it because I wanted to be more critical because I didn't want to rate all of them 10 out of 10. It'd be kind of cringe. So with the original, I rated it a 10 out of 10. So even though I said I didn't want to, I actually think Scream is a phenomenal movie in general, even with bias aside. Scream 2, I think I gave it 8.5 maybe?
Yeah, you went
I think I went 8.5.
You were in the 8 range somewhere there.
Scream 3 I originally went to 6.5, but I'm bumping it up to 7. Objectively, it's not very good.
I gave it a 5.5.
With Scream bias a little bit, I tried to keep it out, but just because it's Scream related, I bumped it up to a 7. I know I probably shouldn't have, whatever.
Disgusting.
Scream 4, I think I gave it an 8.5 as well for match Scream 2. And then with Scream 5, I think I gave it a 9. Because at the time when we watched it, I was feeling it, and I still love Scream 5. It's amazing.
It's a good movie.
With not as many negative, it could be because of the hype that we just watched it, and like we're really excited. But coming out of that theater, almost a 10 for me.
It's good.
I'm giving it a 9.5. It's my number 2 in my rank right now.
That's fair.
I can't give it a 10 out of 10 just because it might just be the hype. But like it was done phenomenally, and Radio Silence took Scream in, and they are doing awesome with it. I'm glad it wasn't just a cash grab director, and you could tell they love these movies.
For what it's worth, I think it says something that this is my highest rated out of the entire franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, we didn't talk about it much before coming into this podcast. You're getting a lot of our
First
thoughts
thoughts.
at
Yep.
each other fresh, but one thing that we did kind of talk about was like our expectations going into the movie, and I didn't have any. I mean, I was excited for it. I mean, I guess, but I didn't really think too much about it. I watched the first trailer. That was about it, and that's just what I've been kind of doing now, and it's helped me. And
Yeah.
I went in with no expectations, and it kind of blew them away. So I almost feel like I'm partially immune to the hype on this one.
For me, I was super hyped for this movie, had high expectations, and then they were met. Maybe even a little bit better than what I thought it was going to be. So yeah,
There you go.
that's our rankings, and I think now it's time to actually get into the gritty.
Yeah,
The gritty.
we'll get into spoilers here for a second.
Let's get into the action,
absolutely last chance to hop off before I think we should probably just start with the opening kill here. So with that being said, we open with, is it Samara Weaving?
Samara Weaving, which is Ready or Not. The Ready or
yes.
Not movie was made by Radio Silence before Scream, before they picked it up. And if you haven't seen that movie, really good.
I haven't.
Really good.
Yep.
And she was the main character in that movie. And no, I had no spoilers going into this, but I was like, she was the main girl in their movie. Now that it's in Scream, I'm like, she's probably going to be the opening kill.
Right.
And then she was.
And she was. And, you kind of notice that a lot with some of these actors popping up. Like the guy, I know this technically happened after, but you notice like in the last movie, Stu's nephew or whatever it was.
Vince.
He's the guy from Smile.
Yeah.
Yes. So you notice these kind of little horror actors, these little horror actors, these little horror actors. They're going, which I don't know if Ready or Not's a horror movie per se, maybe a thriller.
It's more of a thriller.
Yeah.
It's funny too.
But I mean, that's the basic idea. Is like I think it's kind of interesting watching these actors kind of bounce around between these projects,
And, like,
and you can kind of see the network that they go out on there. It's really interesting.
But like with the opening scene, we're met with Samara Weaving's character. I don't remember what her actual name was because again, she's the opening kill. She's not really in it very long. Yeah, she doesn't make it very long. But here's the thing: like she's in a bar and like it looks like she's doing a Tinder date or whatever. Like she's waiting for the guy to get here.
There's a new technology off the bat.
Yep, you say the thing we
Dating
talk
apps.
about in all the past podcasts for every Scream movie is they implement a new technological like thing.
At the very least, in the opening kill.
Yeah, and with this one, again, like they introduce the dating apps, which we haven't seen in any of the other ones. So with this, we're seeing her just be like, yeah, waiting for my guy. Like she's actually like looking to be like, hey, and then they just like walk off. And she's like, oh.
Yep.
And then it turns out like they call each other, and then that's when he's like, yo, I can't find the bar.
Right.
Like he's pretending that he can't find it. He's like, yo, what's it look like outside? What color is it? Is it red?
All in an elaborate ruse to get her to step outside of the very crowded bar. Mm-hmm. And, once it opened with that character, and you had kind of mentioned your theory that she might be the opening
As
kill.
soon as it starts off with her, I'm like,
yeah, I was looking, I was like, he's leading her outside, and I instantly picked up on that, and I was like, that's very clever. And then basically he, through words, leads her to an alleyway where...
yeah, and they're like, she's at one end of the alleyway, and he's trying to say that, like, he's on the other end.
Right.
And she's like, I can't see you. And he's like, I think I see you. And then, like, he's like, wave, and she does the little hi, and he's like, yeah, I do see you. And she's like, well, I don't see you. And she, like, ends up walking, like, farther in. And then this is... Because
he fakes out.
It's confirmed that, like, our Samara Weaving character here, her character is, like, a big horror fan. She's a slasher.
Yeah, she teaches at the college a film class, basically.
Yeah, and it's funny because like he asked before he like goes into the ghost phase voice, like, "Yo, what's your favorite scary movie?" And she's like,
Right.
"Not that one."
Right.
But yeah, he when she's in the middle of the alleyway by herself, he obviously goes to Ghostface. You hear the Ghostface voice click in, and he's like, you're literally a fan
Phenomenal.
he's like, you're a fan of horror movies, and you literally let me just lead you into this alleyway by yourself. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
But, like, then, like, she starts to freak out a little bit, and, like, he just comes out of nowhere. Like, it just, like, a little tiny section.
There's, like, an alcove, like,
Yeah.
to the left that she couldn't see from the street.
And he just comes out and goes,
Very, very, once again,
and
brutal.
yeah,
Like,
he goes in. And it's funny because, like, you know, when he was trying to figure out, you know, what does the place look like? What color is it? And she's like, it's red. I love that because he's like, now I'm seeing red.
yeah, and there's, like, a little bit of splatter on the mask. And one thing, like, again, I can't get over the very brutal nature of this movie. When he pulls out the knife the last time, you almost see her chest, like,
Yeah.
palpitating a little bit, like still, palpitating. No, still like moving just a little bit, and I was like, oh my god, like that's like it's like the heart like trying to push out blood, and it's actually just coming out.
And it sets the tone of how dark this is going to get.
Yes.
And it's funny because then right after this is over, we see the Ghostface mask come off.
Yes.
And we're like, huh? We're like, I don't know what you thought at this moment, but when it came off, I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is
love
weird.
this.
I'm like, this is the first time we've ever seen a Ghostface unmasking. So I'm like, is he actually like a killer here? Like the main killer? So like this man is actually a killer, of course. And he was going, we'll get into it when we get to it.
Yeah,
but like,
hashtag not our ghost face.
yeah, not ours.
Yeah.
But like he kills her and then he ends up just straight up taking the robe mask off and he just walks off and you see him like put on his book bag and everything and he just walks back on campus. He's just chilling and then you like see him run into Tara.
Yep.
And like Tara's like, oh hey, what's up? And he's like, oh hey, how's it going? And then
And he tries to
get her to go to a party.
Yeah, he tries to get Sam. He tries to get her to invite Sam.
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
is
yeah.
why. And that's when, you know, at this point in the movie, it's like starting to expand. You know, when you get new characters, you're like, okay, the opening is done.
Yeah.
Well, so I was thinking the fake out was going to be, oh, we are going to know who at least maybe one of the killers is off the bat.
Stab 10.
What's that?
Do a Scream 4 where just like, stab 10.
Oh,
No. Yeah, I thought the opening was over. Like, I really was like, so he's one of our killers? Like, we're just going to know who one of them is?
then our initial fake out was a misdirect. Well, not completely. I mean, we did find out who killed the teacher, but at the same time, he goes back to his apartment.
Yeah.
Where he has a little shelf dedicated to 2 ghost face masks. Mm-hmm. There are 2 there, which is important because you soon learn that as he he calls out for his roommate who is not there, then he gets a phone call.
Yeah, and the phone call he's talking is Ghostface.
Yeah,
and then he was like, "Yo, we told each other we're not going to talk in the Ghostface voice when we're talking to each other." And then, well, the thing is like our character that we saw who killed Samara Weaving's character, he was just doing it to get ready. Like it wasn't even for any reason. He was just trying to prep. Because we find out that like his his motive and our other killer that he's talking to on the phone, at least who he thinks he's talking to, these two, their motive is to like act like they were supposed to start the next Scream movie basically because they were planning to kill Sam and Tara.
Yeah,
and
because
all
they
characters.
wanted to finish
Richie's movie.
Yeah, because didn't they say he was their roommate at one point?
Did they? Yeah,
roommate or at the very least friend.
They knew Richie anyway,
yes.
And they wanted to finish his movie because he's gone now from 5. So it's interesting that they drop Richie right off the bat, like, yo, Richie, don't forget him.
I love that this movie builds on the previous movie
very well,
ways that wasn't just the characters returning.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you remember this character?
Yeah.
Like there actually is a purpose as to why these characters are brought back up. And the thing is obviously Ghostface is saying that he's in the apartment. Because the guy on the phone, I don't remember his name, but the guy we saw kill Samara Weaving's character, Ghostface, at the time, like, he's like, yo, you're not in the apartment. Where are you? And he's like, oh, I'm in here. And then they play a little game of hot and cold.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the kind of reverse Ghostface kind of thing. Like, because we see this character who we know is a killer. It's not like it was a fake out.
Yeah, he's actually cold-blooded. He's right. Like they're going to be the next Ghostface if they were able to.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then we see that they get the other end of the stick.
Yeah.
Literally. And pretty much as he gets led around the apartment, you see there's cameras that the killer is watching him from.
And it's funny because he's like, you're hot. You're not hot, but he's like, you're warm. And then he starts walking out of the kitchen. He's like, cold.
Yep.
And then he's like, oh.
Leads him right to the refrigerator.
Fridge. And that's when he opens it. And then his partner that he was supposedly talking with, all chopped up gore, dude. He's just everywhere, on blood everywhere. He's like dismembered.
Yep.
all in the refrigerator. He's like, what the? And then that's when
Ghostface
Ghostface
is
comes from
behind.
behind and just straight up, like he goes ham again. He's
Yep.
like, and I love this line. This line is amazing to go into like the Scream like title card because our character who killed Samara Weaving's character, he's like, but the movie. He's like, what about Richie's movie? And then our Ghostface, who is clearly the Ghostface of the actual movie, he's
Right.
like, I don't give a fuck about that movie, and then kills him. And that is a thing that I wanted to say, is that going into this movie, with 5, I wasn't,
Yep.
the motive was fine. I was cool with the movie ordeal. We've done a lot of like, oh, I want another stab movie to be good, or
Yeah.
oh, I'm doing this to make another movie. We've done this. We've done it before.
A few times. It was borderline a trope.
Yeah. And I was hoping that this time I was like, hopefully the motive's something more like personal.
Yes.
It wasn't just, oh, I want another movie. I want stab movie, bro. I want something to be as good as the original, like our last movie was.
Right.
And right off the bat, him saying that, you're like, oh, he doesn't care about the stab franchise.
Love it.
He's here for something else.
And that was one of the that was actually one of the positives that I didn't want to spoil.
Yeah.
Was the killer's motive. So I really enjoyed that. And I guess as we continue on, one thing I want to say, the not the fake ghost face, but the first ghost face that gets killed.
Yeah.
He is the actor that portrays him is the same actor from Spider-Man. He he is in the like the Tom Holland movies for like the MCU, and he plays like the bully, almost borderline bully.
He gets bullied in this one.
Yeah, he gets bullied by the tip of a knife.
No, I just want to say, though, I love this opening because we've never seen a Ghostface get worked by another Ghostface. This is the first time we've ever done this where, like, there's, like, and also the reveal, because the whole time we're thinking, okay, so we're just going to know who one of them is at the beginning?
I was low-key rooting for, like, the ghost face that was toying with him. Because I was like, okay,
100%.
this guy's a killer. I mean, he needs to die.
Also, he was just a douche, like Samara Weaving, just chilling, dude. Because because the guy who kills her is just talking about like, yo, it was just practice. Wasn't even anything for him to do. Like, he just wanted to just kill someone.
Tell me what you think about this as not a theory, but like as a hypothetical.
Okay.
Okay, so clearly we know that the ghost face trend is popular.
Yeah.
You know, they talk about how like masks are selling out around the like the city. You know, throughout at one point in the movie it says that, and obviously there's a lot of deranged psychopaths. If there's a few killers in this movie, there's more than a few, and well, what would you think about the idea of someone donning the ghost face outfit and killing the killers? Like, we get the idea that we're supposed to actually root for a ghost face. That's like
a good one.
Yeah,
that's like yeah.
I would love to,
just a ghost face superhero. Like his whole his whole personality is just taking out actual ghost faces.
Yeah,
that'd be so funny.
Like in some weird situation where Samantha is surrounded by people who may not be working together, but all individually
want to kill her.
Have the idea that they want to do that, right?
Yeah.
And as this, character, vigilante, whatever, finds out about it, they take it out, but they can still structure it like a horror movie where the ghost face is killing them, but then they soon find out that this person, had ill intentions, and that's why, or whatever. Tara, we could say Tara's doing it or something. That would be really cool. Or vice versa, Samantha protecting Tara.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Not going to happen. It's just...
just a thought.
Cool structure.
But yeah, the opening,
great.
10 out of 10.
Love it.
Oh man, it was great. Like right when the title card came on, I'm like, honestly, one of the best opening scenes, man. Yep. It was fire. And then we go to Samantha in therapy. Is this where we're at?
I think so. Yeah, Samantha.
So they're all in New York, and Samantha is getting therapy, and she kind of eases back and doesn't really say a lot about herself and her feelings about what she's feeling. Because the therapist is like, yo, tell us what you really feel, what you're really thinking. And she's like, okay. So then that's when she drops in on him that like, yo, I'm the daughter of a serial killer who was famous in Woodsboro.
Does she do it here?
Yeah. She tells him.
Oh, that is right.
Yeah, she tells him right in the beginning. And then she's like, yeah, I'm the daughter of Billy Loomis, a very popular serial killer. And that, she was getting hunted by 2 serial killers herself back in Woodsboro.
Right.
And then this is when she's just like, yeah. And then she's like, I killed one of them by stabbing him 22 times. and then slitting his throat.
And
And
then
then
shooting
she's
him in the-
like, kind of liked it.
Yeah. Now, pretty much the main point of this scene, there was two things. One being that she confessed this and that the therapist wants to report this.
Yeah, he wants to
That-
tell the authorities.
Yeah, and then the other thing being that we learn that through her talking about it, that people believe that she made it up. That is something that she kind of lets on, that everyone thinks, or some people think that I fabricated the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she was the mastermind.
That's
behind it.
that's a real big important part of this movie is
Yes.
that everyone thinks that she staged Richie and Amber from Five. Yeah, sorry, from Five, and that like she was the actual killer.
Yes.
So everyone and they see them going through like Reddit, and there's like fan art of like the ghost face mask and like her face there, and like just all over the internet. Everyone thinks that Sam's a killer.
Yep. But basically, when he tells her, like, hey, I have to report what you just said, she's like, well, I didn't say I was going to do it again.
Yeah.
He's like, still, regardless, you've expressed, joy or whatever. And my thing is, like, she was already cleared from doing this.
Yeah,
he's got nothing on her.
Yeah.
So she basically storms
Sleeps.
out.
Yeah, she's like, peace.
And that's when we follow her to the apartment where we run into...
Well, before she gets to the apartment, yeah. Well, yeah, she goes to the apartment, and then she ends up meeting Quinn, which
yep.
is one of her roommates.
Yep. Who is a sex positive character.
Yeah, sex positive, not
a horror.
yeah, sex positive.
Yep. There's a difference. Apparently. And
Well, this is when obviously she's back in the apartment. She's like, "Where's Tara?"
yes,
'Cause
she's
Sam is-
looking for her sister.
One thing that Sam is in this movie is she is very protective of Tara.
Yeah.
Sam is like all over her, like, "Yo, I need to keep you safe." So Tara, we saw in the opening when we saw her fake quote unquote ghost face. We
know
like
she's going to a
she's
party.
going to a party.
Yep.
So obviously we already know that Tara's gone out of the apartment to go party it up, and then Quinn ends up obviously giving in and telling Sam that, hey, she went to a party, yo.
Yep.
So then she storms out obviously to go to the party, and
Yep.
then we end up going to the party.
We do also meet. We also do get to get our first gaze across the windows.
Cute guy.
Of cute guy in the
Yeah.
in the window or whatever. And that's all we get. Basically, Samantha kind of shuts down any idea that she should go and talk to him, which of course we learn later on. That
She has been.
She has been talking
She's
to him.
hiding that she's talking to him.
Yeah. So anyway, that's whatever. I'm sure we'll miss that little moment at some point whenever it actually does happen.
Yeah.
But Samantha goes to the party, but from there we actually cut to Tara and Mindy's perspective.
Yeah, they're at the party.
And
And Mindy over here with her girlfriend.
Yep.
I don't know who the actor's name is, but she was an Orbs.
Yeah. And so,
Wasn't her name like Annika?
Annika.
Yeah,
Yep.
something like
You're
that.
right. You're right.
I was trying to remember her name. I was like, I know it. I just don't know how to pronounce it.
Yep.
But
And
that's who Mindy's dating. And then we also see Chad with Ethan. Ethan is Chad's new roommate
new
in college.
roommate. Yep.
So they got those two together, and then they're all just in a party. You see a lot of outfits because this whole movie takes place on Halloween, by the way.
I love that.
Well, at least
Well,
a day is Halloween.
yeah. The second. I mean,
Because
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it turns day and night at some point. So
It does. It does.
It might not be all in Halloween, but it does take place during Halloween at some point.
when-
For a lot of it, anyway.
Because when they walk out of the police station, it's daytime.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs you see in the backgrounds throughout this whole movie where people are wearing outfits from like other horror movies. Where, like, you got Michael, you got Jason, you got It. You see the red balloon. And
Hellraiser.
Yeah, the Babadook.
I don't know what the Babadook looks like. I've never seen it. So.
One thing I thought I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure in the background I was telling him when smile. I swear to God that there's a person just in the background just doing the smile from Smile, and I was like, yo. And then you got the Ready or Not outfit, like the
Yes,
wedding
I
dress
saw it
and
coming
stuff.
downstairs.
Yeah, you
Yep.
see her coming down with that. There's a lot of good Easter eggs. That's just some. There's a lot of them.
And once again, that is something that I kind of criticized the following Scream movies after the first, not referencing other movies as much.
Yeah.
Becoming more self-referential with the Stab franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something that I actually liked a little bit in Scream 5, but really amps up in Scream 6. Yet another reason why I thought the personality
See,
of this movie felt stronger.
and Scream 6 does tie back into Stab as well.
It does.
But like they don't talk about it that much.
But they don't. They don't rely on.
Yeah, they don't. They talk about a lot of other horror movies and stuff more often than Stab. Like you don't hear Stab, and you don't see Stab everywhere. Like you see some scenes where they're plastered with Stab posters and things, but like not as much as like all the other ones have done.
Yep.
And I like that. It was refreshing, not like saying, "Hey, stab, 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 stab." I love the stab idea, but I don't want to see it in my face all the time.
Right.
So this is where Tara meets.
Yeah, Tara's
some
drinking
dude
a lot.
because she's drunk.
Yep.
And he's like, let's go upstairs.
You learn, I mean, throughout the movie, you can kind of realize that she's dealing with her, the events of last year in a bad way. She's being self-destructive. So she's trying to go up and basically have a one-night stand with this guy.
And the friends are awesome. I love that. Like, all of them are looking out for her.
Yeah.
Because she's like the baby sister of all of them. Like, I love that.
Well, not for Chad.
Well, not for Chad. But like, all of them are like basically your little baby sister. Like, yeah, we're going to, because like even the Annika girl, like even she's like the first one to actually step up and be like, all right, maybe you shouldn't go up there with him.
Right.
And then she's like, "Nah, I'm fine. I'm okay." It's funny. I love her and like the dude's like reactions because he's like, "Dude, she said she wants to," and she's like, "Yeah." She's like, he says his name. He's like, I forget what he even says.
Was it Frankie?
Yeah, Frankie. He's like, "I'm Frankie," and she's like, "I don't care."
Definitely thought he was going to be involved in the story in some way, just because he was a named character that.
Yeah, he doesn't show up again.
Yeah, he doesn't show up again. And he doesn't get killed, which whatever.
And then this is when Chad obviously comes. But
Chad.
see, I guess since we're talking spoilers, we don't have to go in order. But like Chad has a thing for Tara.
Yeah.
But at this moment, we don't really know that. So like,
yeah, not yet.
Chad just steps up and sees that like she's drunk and this dude's taking her up there. And he's like, no. So he goes in. He's like, yeah, no. She's drunk. Let's not do this. Yeah, let's come back down. And then they get a little heated.
Yeah, they get heated. They throw each other around, and then Samantha makes her grand entrance. Samantha comes in. She goes, "Hi, I'm going to tase you in the balls now." She tases the guy in the balls. It's very funny. And then that's when everyone starts, making comments. Oh, it's the crazy girl from Woodsboro.
Yep. It's the killer.
It's the killer, And then Tara is obviously upset, because she thought that's what she wanted, and she's getting her time ruined. But then also that Samantha is once again stalking her and being overprotective, overbearing, and everything.
And that's when they leave the party and they have a falling out outside. Like Tara's like, "Yo, ever since the events, like you need to chill." Like, and she's like, "Dude, I'm just trying to protect you." And she's like, "I get that, but you're always on me. You don't let me do anything. You don't let me hook up with anyone. Like you're just overbearing."
And that's we do actually get another run in with some girls walking by filming as
Screw them, dude. Screw them, bro.
Yeah, screw them. Filming Samantha as basically saying, stay away from her.
Well, the one girl throws like whatever on her.
Cherry Coke.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, diet cherry Coke.
Diet cherry Coke.
Yeah, can't forget that.
And it is what it is. Samantha's obviously upset.
I love the dynamic that like the whole world hates her for no reason.
I know.
I just love the way that she handled. Like, obviously she's not handling it, but like she hides it. And like she just kind of like keeping it to herself, and she's trying to be the overprotective sister, and obviously like Tara ends up appreciating it later, but right now she's like, no,
right,
back up.
And that is when we get all of our characters that we pretty much care about at this point back to the apartments.
Yeah,
and we get to see a little moment between Chad and Tara as he kind of not helps her to bed, but he sits with her.
Yeah,
and
he
kind
sits
of talks
with
to
her
her
and just like, yeah. And then like Tara acknowledges like, hey, you like, thanks for stepping up in there. She's like, because that's not what I would have wanted.
Yeah,
like she was just drunk. And then that's when like you start to realize that they might like each other.
They do the eye contact thing.
Yeah,
and then they almost kiss, and of course
Quinn comes
interrupts, and that is that as far as.
No, go ahead.
What were you gonna say? Because if you're gonna add to something,
I was just gonna ask you because like. I want to get our opinions on certain things in here.
Okay.
And what did you think about Chad and Tara hooking up or trying to hook up? Did you like the dynamic of them dating, or did you like, nah, I only see them as like brother-sister thing?
See, they didn't interact too much in the first movie, so I didn't have that predisposed notion that they were close.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like an issue to me that they were into each other, but it also kind of came out of nowhere. A little bit,
yeah.
Because in the first scene, where he's kind of like kicking the shit out of the other guy, make sure she doesn't go upstairs with him, that felt like
just being
friends.
Protective. Yeah, just being protective. Yeah.
And he was the muscle, so it was him to do it.
Hobbs.
Well, then, yeah, but I honestly think it's fine. I mean,
Yeah,
it's played to an emotional effect throughout the movie.
Yeah, and I don't think I would have loved it if they would have kissed right there and then started dating right then and there. They work their way to it towards the end. Like they don't even really get together until the end
right.
for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that kind of romance plot throughout this movie, which I think romance plots in these movies have kind of been hit or miss. If you're not Gale and Dewey,
Rip Sydney.
You're in a rough place.
Rip Sydney's dating life.
Samantha too. I mean, we don't know how the second one's going to go. I get a feeling he's going to be a sleeper hit for number 7. But anyway.
But yeah, I wanted to say that I like it. Going into this movie, I didn't expect to see them anywhere.
I didn't either.
That came out of nowhere to me. I'm like, oh, I didn't think that they were going to actually start dating or try to date. And like I said, if they would have done it right then and there, they're like, oh, we kissed, we made out, cool, we're dating now, and just left it at that, I'd have been like, eh. But they worked their way to it, and I think they paced it very well, and I dig it.
That was one of the many character arcs throughout this movie, and I think the ability to spread your story, along with being a slasher thriller, along with many character arcs, like Samantha dealing with her public facing, but also Tara relationship, Tara with Chad, Jesus.
Hobbs and Shaw?
Yeah.
Hobbs and Shaw, whatever.
And there are more, of course, but those are, I would argue, probably the two most poignant.
Yeah. Well, that's what I like about this movie is that there is a lot of side stuff going on top of the main plot, but it's not overbearing. Like it flows very well.
It ties in.
Yeah, and they all tie in to the end. So I think everything that's brought up and everything, like it all has a purpose. It all ties in, all concludes.
Yep.
So with that in mind, we came into 5, at least I did, thinking that I like Chad in 5, but he didn't really have that much of a relevance. And I was hoping that his character would have been expanded in this, and it was.
He was the character I feel like had the least amount of relevance in 5. And like definitely screen time as well, because, him and Mindy both are not throughout the movie too much. Then at the end of 5, he's taken out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Dude, I think he comes in clutch. I think he's one of the actors that carries. I mean, the movie didn't need carrying. The movie was done very well from everything, every standpoint, every actor. But he improved a lot from 5, in my opinion. So I think let's talk about killings.
You want to just go through the movie that way?
I don't want to go beat by beat because if you haven't watched it, go watch it up to this point because we're going to start talking about killings and stuff now.
We've set up the basis.
Yeah, we set up the introduction, and then now we're just going to go with the most important things from here on out. So since we got the opening and all the characters and the new characters introduced, basically, let's talk about the first kill of the movie after the introduction here. Now, actually, technically, the first kill...
We've got the opening too.
I'm trying to think if this happens before or after the first kill, but the good old-fashioned popular scene that was seen in the trailer, the shop with the shotgun, because I don't know if this happens before or after the therapist.
No, therapist was second. Okay.
So before any other kills really go down, I'm pretty sure the store scene happens, right? Because they end up getting a call outside, Tara and Sam.
Yep.
They're outside, they get a call, and then Ghostface. The good thing to point out, too, is when Sam gets called, it's Richie's number.
Yep.
She has the contact still saved. She never deleted it. So you see Richie's face pop up, and it says Richie calling.
So they know they have the phone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which answers, because Tara's like, don't answer, come on.
Right.
Just don't do it. Don't acknowledge it. But then she answers, and then, they basically get heated. And then, Ghostface's like, I'm going to kill you. And then Sam's like, now we're going to kill you.
Right.
And then that's when he comes out of that alleyway. And he's just whoosh.
Goes right for Tara, but she has a quick little, elbow, and they both get away. And
they bolt right into the...
Yeah, they bolt right into the nearest convenience store.
I love this scene
because... Probably...
They're safe.
Thinking that they're safe. They're a public place.
Yeah, why would... There's at least a handful of people in there. Why would Ghostface, a dude who's just by himself, why would he go in there and start murdering random people? He's never done it before.
Right off the bat, there's 2 killed. Basically, as soon as he walks in the door, the 2 men that try to stop the Ghostface, and then after that, the owner pulls out the security shotgun and fires a shot, misses. Of course, Ghostface is.
This scene lasted longer than I thought it would because I figured like with the trailer he shoots it and then like immediately he dies. But like he has a few little extra minute there where he's telling him to like go out the back, and like you see him like looking around all the aisles like where is he? And then the reason like he isn't on his like on guard and why he like Ghostface gets to sneak up on him is because Sam and Tara are like the door's locked, we need your keys.
Yep.
So he like goes for the keys and then he checks up and then that's when you see him.
You see the like the round mirror, which that was a great shot and a brilliant idea for a shot.
And that's when he goes.
Yeah, he goes bye and then Ghostface, of course,
has the shotgun.
Yeah, has the shotgun.
To any of you, I mean, if you're watching the spoiler section, you've probably watched it, or if you haven't,
or you
watched
don't
it,
care.
Yeah, you just don't care. A lot of people were worried that the shotgun was going to be a problem. A lot of people were like, "We just want to see knife kills. We don't want shotguns in here." Ugh. Ghostface doesn't use a gun, even though like all of them do at the end of the reveals.
Right.
He only uses it in the scene, so you don't have to worry about it. Or if you haven't watched it, you don't have to worry about him just going around shooting everyone up. Like I'm pretty sure like every kill was like hand to hand or knife to knife. Like there was no gun usage other than here, and he doesn't even kill anyone with it. Well, he kills the clerk. He kills the owner.
He did a combat finisher on him.
But this was a very tense scene.
Yes, this was one of the scenes where I thought the audio was used really well because it's really quiet. Like you can hear every crackle of glass under their feet from the broken freezers. Or when she picks up the can, you hear the bend of the aluminum just a little bit,
and she chucks it,
and then of course that's Ghostface's
and with the audio too, I love this because like where they have to go through, there's glass broken everywhere, so you just see them like slowly trying to not touch the glass.
Yep, and then basically they get to a point where they're looking through the shelves at Ghostface, and then they kind of play it up like Ghostface is going to detect them, and pretty much when he does, shelves get pushed on him. They bolt outside, and that's about the time the cops conveniently show up.
And then they like turn back, and then that's when you see the like back door swing open, so like he bolted out.
Ghostface is gone, but the mask remains.
Yeah, the masks are very important to the story here.
But this is the first indicator we have. This is a different mask than the one that the character is wearing.
Yeah.
And after they go to the police station,
they get questioned because a thing to note is our first opening Ghostface, the one that dies from the real Ghostface, basically. The real Ghostface who killed him leaves Sam's license or identification.
Yes,
leaves it at the crime scene because they're talking about that Sam's a born killer. Like she's the one, they're kind of following on. We know why they're saying this later, but like you kind of thinking that like the motive is like he thinks that like Sam is actually the one who killed everyone in 5.
Right.
That's not true, but there's a reason as to why he's like, you're a killer.
Yep.
Yeah, you kill people. So, he's leaving these things to like put it on her. And he gets called, Sam and Tara get called in, and then this is where the detective comes into play.
Yes, but we were already technically introduced to the father,
the detective,
because after they found her license, that is when they went to the police station the first time.
Okay.
And we met Gail in this movie for the first time, and because she's outside with the reporters.
I love that because like all the reporters are just like, yo, Sam, what, you're a killer. Oh man, what's it like to be a killer? How are you still alive? How are you not in jail? Blah, blah. And then you just hear, I'm Gail Weathers. And how does it feel? And like, she just pops up out of the crowd.
I'm Gail Weathers. And are you the reason that Ghostface is in New York or whatever?
I love that because like, it's not just like, oh, there has to be a big introduction to her. She just comes out of the crowd of all the, I love that.
She holds a lot of weight as a legacy character. And I think she shines in this movie.
She's clutch. Okay. I just want to say the punch.
The punch. Oh yes.
Because
you think it's going to be Samantha, the Sydney equivalent?
She does. Because in Scream 1 and 2, Sydney always punches Gail in the face for basically just being a bit. She deserved him. And then in this one, she kind of deserved it too. And not Tara, but Sam goes to punch and she dodges. And then she's like, I've done this before. And then Tara just goes pop.
Got to do the follow-up.
It's like, you dodged Sydney, which was one person, but you never dealt with 2 of them at once.
Right.
And then this is when I was like, okay, Gail. I'm like, really? In 5, dude. In Scream 5, at the end, when they're in the ambulance and she's just chilling with Sydney, she's like, I know what my next book's going to be about. And then she's like, it ain't going to be these fucking clowns that killed everyone in Scream 5. She's like, I'm going to write about a sheriff who used to, take care of this town. Dewey, obviously.
Right.
And then we find out that this clown, Gale Weathers, wrote another book on the killings and didn't even write Dewey's book.
And,
I am triggered.
And that is when I mentioned how there were many character arcs throughout this movie. Another one that was, I think, going to be important for a minor Gale Weathers redemption in the final movie. She is confirmed to have survived the events of this movie, though it's pretty close.
Yeah,
right?
dude, very close. That was one of the scenes I was on the edge of my seat.
Yes.
I was like, I don't know, dude.
But I think the idea that Gale, kind of grapples with the fact that she does cling to that relevance a little bit.
Yeah, and they mentioned that.
Sam mentions that, and then Ghostface mentions that in her encounter with him. And in those two moments, I think those are probably Gale's two biggest scenes in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Only other one being the one where they actually go to the killer's
shrine.
lair.
Yeah.
Yes. And in both of those scenes, she kind of almost shrugs it off, but I think there is a realization there, especially with a potential near-death experience.
Yeah, well, I think the shrine is really where she shines a little bit with, realizing and fully, at least somewhat coming aware again, at least, with, all the popularity and stuff out of the order. She's like, man. She's like, Dewey, man. Because, the shrine, you see stuff of Dewey. You see, the memorial, basically, with pictures of him, and then, you can see that, in that moment, she was just like, man. So there is Gale cares about Dewey, but I'm still triggered that she didn't write the book about him. I'm salty.
I know it is, and like I said, once again, I think we're primed for a Gale and Sidney reunion in the 7th movie, and I think they do cap this off as a trilogy.
Oh yeah,
I think that's how they do it, and potentially, as bad as it is to say, probably the end of the franchise.
I might be. I mean,
I really do think Scream 7 probably is the last one.
And at least for a long time.
Yes.
They might bring up another person to come out and be like, hey, I want to try this. But
I mean, that could be, but I definitely will believe that as far as the
we're doing
the
right
legacy with the Sidney Prescott era, or the looming of
Sidney's.
Sidney, that this is it.
Well, this movie, Sidney being absent didn't hurt it.
It didn't.
I'm a huge Sidney fan, and Nev Campbell 100% deserves that pay. If she's going to work, pay her what she deserves.
Yep.
But her being out of it didn't make this movie bad. Honestly, if you were to put her in here, I don't know where you would have put her in here. Because,
I agree.
All the plot line, there's already a lot going on, and, all of it is very well done. Putting in another Sidney plot line, I don't know if it would have messed with the flow or not.
I liked the reasoning that they gave.
Because at the scene that we're at right now with Gale, talking to Sam and Tara, that's where, they were asking, is Sidney coming back or whatever, and then Gale's just like...
I already called her and told her,
yeah.
and so they stay clear.
Mm-hmm. She's like, Mark, she's going to take care of Mark and the kids, and, she sends her condolences and luck, and that, and then Gale just kind of confirms that, Sidney deserves her happy ending.
Yep.
And then that's basically it with Sidney.
Yep.
There's she's not going to come in, and she doesn't.
Yep, and let's see.
When it comes to Ghostface coming back, though, I think after this is when we do see the therapist die.
Yes, that is the.
I love that because
that is the next kill.
He's watching a movie, and when he gets up, because you hear a knocker of
"You're next."
Yeah,
you're next.
And the TV's
you're next.
"You're next. You're next."
And
this shot's cool. I know you complain that there's a little less shots, but this shot was dope.
Well, Ghostface standing at the door.
Yeah, standing at the door. It's all blurry. He's just standing there, and then our therapist character is like, "What's going on over there?" So he gets slightly closer to look in. He gets real close, and then that's when Ghostface just straight up just knifes through the glass.
Yep.
Bonks his head off the door.
I can't remember. Was he through the cheek, or was he through?
He
the
was
eye?
the eye.
He was the eye. Okay.
Or nose. Was it? I thought it was nose.
It might have been. I mean, I guess I thought it leaned closer. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, either way,
he was stabbed in the face.
Yeah, and also he gets bonked on the door.
Yeah,
it's funny.
very brutal. But
you see Ghostface manage through the files.
Yep. We see that, and we soon realize that we weren't killing the therapist because we needed to. We were killing the therapist because we needed to get, or Ghostface, not we. I'm the killer.
No, I am on the road.
You're right. Ghostface needed Samantha's files.
Yep.
Obviously from the therapist, because they want to pretty much blackmail her and eventually out her. Right.
Yeah.
So that's reasonable to assume. and that's that killing. And then do we go to the apartment where where all the characters are hanging out?
I think before this, it's not really a killing, but I did want to mention that before this scene that you're going to talk about, they do go to the park. And they're talking, like Mindy, this is where Mindy shines again, where she starts talking about the meta stuff.
Well, should we talk about Kirby then? Because we got to the police station.
Yeah, because we're talking to our detective, whatever, and this is where I don't know.
Oh, are you talking about where all the friends are at the?
Yeah, they're all chilling.
I don't know why I was already thinking of the part where they're in the van.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
my bad.
yeah. This is just where they're in the park chilling, talking, because you got your Quinn, you got Annika, whatever her name is. You have Mindy, Chad, Sam, Tara.
Right.
They're all there, and this is where Mindy's just like, all right, we're back at it again. So she starts giving the knowledge and the rules. She's like, this isn't just another sequel. This isn't just like a trilogy. Like, this is our own, like, we're restarting the franchise, basically.
Yeah, it's a
like,
franchise.
Like, 5 was the first film for them, and, like, this is their sequel, basically. And that, like, legacy characters, off the table. They can die, any of them. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and with this in mind, that we're not, like, an original concept, that any of the characters that were original from 5, they can all go to.
Yep.
All of them can die.
Bigger budgets, more kills, bigger decapitations, which that was a weird way of saying it, but bigger decapitations, longer chases, and pretty much anything you could think of, crank it up to 11.
Yep.
And that was the idea with this movie.
And they were also saying that, like, the killers from last movie, whatever their motive is, whatever,
it's the
exact opposite. So instead of being, like, wacky killers and being about, like, stab and everything, expect this one to be completely opposite from it, which they were. And then, this is where we want to talk about the apartment scene, because this one's crazy.
Yep. And from there on, all of our characters, they retire to their lovely apartment. And here, mind you, it is the core 4.
This is where
This is
gets
where we
brought
get
up.
the idea of the core 4,
Chad,
which are the
dude.
4 returning new characters from Scream 5, which are Samantha, Tara, Chad, and...
Can you say it right?
I know it's... Mindy.
Yeah.
Mindy.
I was gonna see if you said Mandy again.
I was like, I not A. I've said it correctly in the podcast.
Okay.
So far. So we've got those 4 characters, and then we've also got Annika there as well.
And Quinn.
She's watching TV, and Quinn is in her bedroom talking to her father on the phone.
And then,
they're all
they're all
chilling,
having a
hanging
good
out.
time, talking,
Now Annika is on the couch away from the core 4 who are sitting at the table.
Yep. And then you have Quinn in her room, like you
And
said.
then Quinn is in her room.
And this is where you get like a shot of Pretty Boy, basically.
Yeah, the neighbor.
Yeah. And he's just kind of chilling, and he just like looks over, and then he sees Ghostface standing above Quinn.
And of course, he can't get the attention of Samantha. She's not answering the phone.
He's like banging on the door or the window, and he like opens up because he's across. He's like the apartment across from him. So he like opens up the window, and then he's like, "Yo, hey guys," and then like Ghostface just kind of looks up and looks at him. And he's like, "Hey."
Yep. And then eventually, does he send the picture to all 4 of their phones?
I think so. Yeah, because all their phones go off.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, very weird that he has all of their numbers, but it is what it is. Because to a lot of them, that was like the first time they had met him was just previously that night where they were like, all right, get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Oh, yeah, that's when...
or that might be...
Before, like, you think he's going to kill Quinn, but then you hear Quinn's, like, boyfriend say something in the bathroom.
in the bathroom, yeah.
And then he just, like, looks over, he's like, okay.
Yeah, he sketches on out, and...
They're just chilling, having a good time still downstairs, and then this is when they hear Quinn thinking that she's going sex positive because she starts making grunts and noises. Right. So they're like, all right, she's going at it again. But then that's when they get like the message on their phone and they like look, and then she's like deceased.
Yep.
All bloody and everything.
Yep.
And they're like, oh God.
They face the door, and of course, eventually the door does sprout open, and Quinn comes out. She's of course bloodied. She falls on top of, Mindy, right? Or is it Annika that she falls on?
I don't remember.
I think it's Annika because she's already on the ground when Ghostface like starts choking her.
Dude, Annika gets the work,
Damn.
dude. Like he just like goes
multiple ways,
and then like goes up a lot. It's like, oh God,
it's like he's like gutting her.
And then this because Sam, like all of them like split up. Chad and like Tara ran out of the apartment. Like we're going downstairs. And like, oh crap, no one's following us. So they went back up.
Back around.
And then
they still can't get in because the door has been locked.
And Sam is like in the kitchen trying to like get the knives. And I love this because it kind of plays that like someone in there has to know. Yeah, because like all the knives that were in the knife holder was all gone. And she's just like, oh my God, what do I use? What do I use? And then like when she hears that like Ghostface is obviously gutting Annika or whatever, she just like picks up the whole knife thing and just chucks it at him.
Yep.
And then that's when they all collectively go into the one room.
Yep. And we see that the boyfriend was also killed, and he's in the bathtub.
That was gruesome. There's just blood everywhere.
Just everywhere. It was bad. And
the scene was awesome because like they try to go out the back, and then Ghostface comes in from the back, and then they're like pinned between the two doors, and they have them like budged to where Ghostface can't get in. He's over here like bashing.
So they're just in the one bedroom. They've got both doors locked and then blocked for the one. And then the boyfriend is actually putting a step ladder across the gap because it's too far to jump.
Yeah, and they have to
basically like catwalk
this scene
across.
Was awesome. I don't know what. Did you think someone was gonna die here, like right off the rip? Did you like, oh, someone's going?
Yeah, yes, because I kind of in my head was already thinking Annika's dead.
True.
Like she when it zoomed in on her belly, which she did make it into the room. Surprised by that. Mm-hmm. It was just like coming past her hand so much.
Yeah, there was a lot of blood. She's just like, so much blood. And then like Sam goes over first. She makes it fine. Ghostface is still trying to barge in. Tara goes in next, I think, and she makes it across. And then this is when Mindy and Annika, whatever her name is, I can't say it correctly, so I'm going to keep saying both just in case.
Yeah.
This is when Mindy was like, you go first, please, go first.
Right.
But she's like, no, I'm not going first. I'll be right behind you.
And
go.
I think she knew.
She's like, I'm going to do
I think she low-key kind of knew, like, hey, you need to get across first because I don't even think I can do it.
Yeah.
And,
which, her scene's kind of sad because she's like, I don't want to die, basically. Like, she's like, I want to live.
I couldn't help but thinking it was kind of goofy the way he was bouncing her, though. I was like,
but that's Scream fashion. Like, put in a little goofy in there.
Yeah, but it was leaning really far into the sad because the music kind of, like, the musical stinger kind of kicked in, like, a little bit sad. And, it was.
Yeah, he's just like.
And then, of course, she's, like, basically pleading for her life, like, I don't want to die and all this. And then she's just bouncing around. Like, that was, like, it was pathetic.
Yeah, he was just toying with her, though, because, like, eventually he's just like, screw it.
He just tips it. And what do you think about that? Like the actual death there.
Oh, that scene was awesome.
She hits the dumpster on the way down, head.
You see her going down, like, oh, here comes the splatter. And then she just hits the dumpster. I'm like, oh, God.
And the head looks like a dried grape when it was done, but with blood.
I love that, though, because it was something that wasn't a knife kill. I love that.
I do, too.
I love the creative kills that they come up with. And a lot of the kills in here are different. There are different kills. And this is when they're all like, oh, God. And then, again, he leaves another mask.
Yep.
And then this is kind of when they're like back grouped up to, well, no, this is when the detective and stuff ends up going into the house and everything. And you see him come out and he's like bawling his eyes out because Quinn was his daughter. So.
Right. Because they're outside on the, like they're down on the street at this point. Mm-hmm. And he comes out and he's crying, of course.
Yeah. And then he's just like, I want to kill this effer. And that's when Gail shows up again because she's like, yo.
Anything you need off the record, I got you. I can help.
And this is kind of where she introduces that she knows the place, and this is where the shrine comes in. And also before the shrine comes in, a thing that I want to talk about is, I don't know if we talk about it too much, but like Ghostface is using different masks, and he's leaving the mask at the places of the murders.
Well,
Kirby's already introduced here because Kirby comes to the shrine.
No, you're right. But what I was going to say was the mask that they're wearing isn't always the one that they're leaving. Because they make note that the one that he was wearing looked a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to put that out because you end up seeing like them, talk to the detective, and this is when like Kirby's introduced because this might have been before this scene with Quinn dying and everything, but like I just want to talk about it that like Kirby is introduced because she's working with the FBI.
Yes.
So like he's like, oh, the FBI's here and they want to talk to you, and then like you see Kirby just kind of chilling in the seat, and this is where you collectively get like the. Like you get a board that has like all the killers' faces up there and stuff, and like the killers leaving these masks, and each mask is a different mask. So from like the first killings at the original Ghost, not the original, but like the fake Ghostface, like they leave Amber's and Richie's mask, and then the next kill they leave Charlie's and Jill's mask, and then another kill they leave Roman's mask. Like they're leaving it and going down, leading to Billy's mask, is what they're doing.
Right.
And I just wanted to point that out, that's an important factor to this movie because they do it after every killing.
Yes.
And then also Kirby's introduced as a character that she's working with the FBI and she's here to help. And, and she, in fact, knows Tara and Sam.
Yeah.
Because when Scream 4 happens, they were freshmen and Kirby was a senior.
Well, Sam was a freshman.
No.
Tara's younger.
Yeah. Tara was freshman then. And Kirby was senior. Because like she says something about like her being a senior, and then
Yeah, she says Sam was.
oh, okay. So
Like Tara was probably like
Sam was a
fifth grader or
freshman,
something.
and Sam was the
Yeah.
senior. Okay, I understand now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I like how that they know each other.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool plot point to
Yeah,
mention.
it was a nice little tie-in that I was like, I would have never even thought of that. But I mean, Woodsboro, one school. I mean, it makes sense.
And
that
they're
they would-
around the same age, so I mean, it just never thought it went through my mind that like, oh, maybe they would have went, to school at the same time, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I love that twist. But this is when they kind of go to the shrine, and the shrine is so good.
Yes, a lot of Easter eggs and call-ins to the franchise happen here, whereas a lot of the rest of the movie focuses on other
movies.
movies.
This is where
and
like
stuff.
the stab stuff comes in.
This
really.
is where like the stab and honestly just Easter eggs and
For
memorabilia
us.
to other movies. Yes.
Yeah, because you see like Stu's TV and robe, you see Billy's shirt, you see a thing that no one ever talked about, but like I noticed was Derek in Scream 2 when he's up on like that star.
Yeah.
There's a star in the
Like
background.
Jesus stuff.
Yeah, there's that in the background. You have Jill's clothes, which I love because like Kirby walks by and she just kind of looks at it and was just like, man. And then
Yeah.
and you see like this is where Gail kind of is looking at like Dewey stuff
Very sad.
and just being Sag. And like Sam ends up like walking up to like the shrine part where like all the ghost faces are lined up, all the outfits and like where the masks should be, but I don't think they're there.
Right.
And then she ends up going up to like Billy's thing, and this is the first time we see Billy like actually like Skeet Ulrich come back because for
Yeah.
like the visions, because like before this he's never showed up at this point.
I think it looked fine in Scream 5, but I like the way they handled it here with the more opaque reflection this time around. I think it helped the kind of like,
Only she sees it.
well, that too, but also the idea that like, as much as I thought it looked fine in Scream 5, like there's still the idea of a little bit of an uncanny valley look to him where he's like, they're trying to make him look like a young person.
Yeah,
And
they have some aging on there.
I
Or
thought
de-aging.
I thought it looked great, but I think this helped, bridge the gap of there's no longer the question of like what's going on here.
Yeah, why does he look a little off?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's these little moments like that, and the emphasis on the audio, and like the store scene, and like moments like that really bring it out as like, I don't know, a cut above the other movie. And even if there are those little detractors, like I said, like there's not as many wallpaper worthy moments. Again, I keep harping on that, but the cinematography, it really was sorely missed in this movie, just a little bit. But overall, like, I don't know, this movie inches out in small ways above each other movie in this franchise.
I'm there with you. I think I think the thing I love about this movie is that it's so suspenseful. Like I said, I was on the edge of my seat for a lot of scenes, and I don't think I ever felt that way with a lot of the Scream movies that I watched prior.
Right.
Like there are certain scenes where I'm like, oh man, it's getting a little tense, but nothing where I was actually like, oh god, because like when we get to certain scenes, there's scenes where I'm like, this could go either way. I'm like,
I know. Well, I think a lot of that actually has to do with Scream 5.
True.
Because they killed Dewey.
yeah. So that gives us that impression that anyone can go. Anyone.
That's the first time it's truly felt like it too.
Yeah, because after that, everyone besides Randy, but after that, like the trio never gets hurt. I mean, they get hurt, but like they never face life or death. Really, they just get like a stab here and there, and that's it. But with the fifth one killing Dewey, it's like, oh, these directors aren't messing around. They don't care. I mean, they care about the franchise,
Right.
but like they're like, we'll kill who we want to kill.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that being like, oh god, anything can happen. I love that.
Right.
But
And
yeah, the shrine was so good, and it looks so cool. It's set up so like the lighting of it is awesome, and it like shines down on all the important things that you want to see. And and the fun fact about the shrine is like the ghost face that like is actually killing our people here. They aren't the ones who made the shrine.
right, yeah, those were actually
Well,
the-
at this moment, we think it's the fake ghost face from the first movie. First movie, yeah. Fake ghost face from the first killing, because
Right.
they mentioned that like because like was it the detective that said that or Kirby? Someone says that like the person who was killed in the apartment, which is the one who killed Samara Weaving's character, that goes.
No, it was Gail because she said that she traced.
Yeah, because Kirby didn't know how to do her job. That's what
Yeah,
Gail kind of
and
like.
there's a
points.
lot of teasing back and forth between the two legacy characters with stuff like that. But yes, Gail says that she linked this place to the two killers or wannabe killers from the original, like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, So like we're just like, okay, cool. Like, well, we knew that they wanted to finish the movie anyway. So to us, it's like it clicks.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Right.
So Shrine's
And-
awesome.
And yes, so from there we actually get a scene where we have Kirby telling Gale, "Hey, no press allowed. This is official police business."
I love that.
And then we find our characters in the back of a van. We're gonna do, they talk about how tracing a phone call now takes 15 seconds
All I'm saying.
instead of 60.
All I'm saying, me and you like looked at each other at this moment because they were in a van
And
Mindy was chilling. It like focused on Mindy, and we just looked at each other like, are they gonna do her like Randy? Because this is the sequel for her. So we're like, are they gonna kill off her
Right.
in the sequel in the park in a public place again?
and then I knew they weren't as soon as they made reference.
Yeah,
to it.
because she ends up saying that.
She
Because
says-
she's just like, what, do you want us to like do what we did here back in the day in the Stab 2 movie?
Yeah.
Because like that's how Randy died.
Yeah, broad daylight doesn't save anybody, basically, was what she's saying. And this ends up being, I don't want to say a misdirect, but, you get kind of worried because the detective, the father of Quinn, the cop, he's walking around, he's got a piece in his ear because he wants to find who
Yeah.
killed his daughter.
And Sam and Tara are like bait. So they're like walking by themselves waiting for a call for Ghostface.
They get the phone call.
Because Kirby is obviously trying to trace where this is at and like figure it out. Because like their understanding is like if he calls, he's near.
Right.
So that was like their thing.
That's usually how it
yeah,
goes.
it's usually how it goes. And
But then they trace it, and it's blocks away.
yeah, and they're like, "What's that?" And then like I think Tara and Sam were like, "Wait, this place?" And then it cuts to Gale
Yep.
with her for some reason new boyfriend. You don't date anyone but Dewey, Gale. You stop that.
Well, we don't know for sure that she didn't already have this boyfriend
I know.
for Scream 5.
I know, but like
You know,
we
'cause,
didn't
like-
know until after Dewey said. So now I'm a little salty.
It was almost insinuated that I don't know how many years they said it had been in Scream 5 that they had not been together. But anyway, regardless,
It was a few years.
we cut to Gail, kind of chilled up at her house. She's upset that they didn't want to include her with their investigation.
yeah.
And she's kind of on her bad bitch routine, got her hair pulled back, whatever.
I love the phone call because like you just hear him talking in the background, and they thought it was like what, the food or something.
Yeah, they thought it was the Postmates
And
or
then
whatever.
he's like, it's for you, and she's like, who is it? And he's like, says he's the killer.
But with the nonchalant nature of it, you get that she might have gotten prank calls before.
yeah.
And then she answers it very quickly. She says this and that.
I love this.
I love this. She gives the same attitude that Sydney gave at the end of Scream 5.
Yeah, she's like, I'm over it. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm not scared of you. And I also love that like when she first talks to Ghostface on the phone, prior to this movie, never has she ever talked to Ghostface on the phone. She got called once in Scream 2, but that's when Randy picks it up.
Yep.
So she has never officially talked to it. And he says that. He's like, it seems that we have never actually talked on the phone before. And he's like, it seems like it's due. Like it's time to do it.
Which it kind of takes a little bit of the life out of that stinger when she says, yeah, I've been prank called like this like 10 times before. So technically for her, she's probably heard this voice how many times on the phone?
Yeah, but like officially,
But officially.
we've never seen it until now. So we're like, yo.
No, absolutely.
And this is, she's like giving no care. She's like, yo, you know how you're like the 10th guy to try this. She's like, I don't
Yep.
care. And like, I forget how their conversation's going. Because this is when like Ghostface is kind of egging her on, like, yo, he's like, poor Dewey. He's like, you
Yes.
let the only person you ever cared about you die.
And that actually gets emotion
Yes.
out of Gail
And me.
and you. And that's about when we see the boyfriend walking back into the room, and he just gets stealth takedown.
Yeah, he's. I forget what they're talking about, but like he says something, she says something, and then he's like, oh, yeah, and he's like, and you won't be ready for like this. And as soon as he says that, he like throws the boyfriend through like the background. I don't know what
Right.
the conversation was, but it was set up really perfectly because he's like, he says whatever, and then he throws it right at the end of his sentence.
Yep.
And
And then we get the knife clean off.
he's
through
like,
the
and
through
then
the
immediately charges at her.
charges. Yes, very honestly scary scene because she isn't quite ready. She hits him with a pan. That's
The frying pan.
the frying pan
Dog.
pretty much off the bat.
And-
but then it's a chase
Yeah.
in and out of the balcony for a minute, right?
Yeah, they're like chasing each other, and she ends up going to the one room that has like the padlock, and she ends up putting in to get the gun.
And she puts it in wrong like 3 or 4 times.
I love that
She's got
because
the
like
door locked.
she shoots the door like a few times, and then like it goes quiet, and she's like, did I get you? And then he's like, nope, you missed. And then he keeps talking smack, and she shoots again. Then he starts pretending. He's like, oh man. He's like, what if you did get me?
And then he just cuts right back like, or am I somewhere else?
Yeah. And that's when, because like in the trailer, it looks like after she shoots at the door, she opens it and Ghostface just kind of like slices right then and there.
Right.
But it's not. She opens the door and there's no one there.
There's no one there. Nice little redirect by the marketing as well.
Yeah, I like that.
But I didn't even remember that, so I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. And at this point, like obviously, what?
It's just what she does.
What's that?
Oh, well, she walks out there and,
Yeah,
she's still talking to Ghostface, but then she goes, hey, can you hold? And then, of course, Ghostface is like, what? And then you hear the hang up, and then she calls again.
Yeah, she has a smart idea to call him so she knows where he's at. But it's so funny because, like, like you were saying, like, she's mid-conversation, Ghostface is talking smack. She's like, hey, can you hold on a second? He's like, wait. He's like, what? And then, like, you just hear her get cut off. It's so funny. But after she calls him, she, like, shoots in, but then she misses.
Yep.
And then this is where they tussle for a while. Like they're going back and forth.
Yes, and very brutal. Both characters get messed up pretty bad, but Gale eventually gets stabbed, seemingly finally in the abdomen. And that right when Ghostface is about to finish her off, of course Samantha and Tara come in, and right behind them is the paramedics after they shoot at and scare off Ghostface, which I don't know how he would get to the elevator if there was just one way. But, something to think about.
But they say that she has a weak pulse.
A weak pulse, but never...
I mean, like, at this point when they say weak pulse, we're like, okay, she's fine.
Yeah.
But before this dude,
I thought she was done.
I thought she was gone. Like, with Dewey being deceased in the last movie, and also the way they played it up, like, it was a long scene where they're fighting back and forth, and I'm like, oh no.
Right.
I was like, it could go either way. And this is one of the scenes that I was on the edge of my seat because it goes on for a while and they're putting punches back and forth to each other with things. And I love that because I think it was when she was on the balcony or whatever, with Scream fashion, she like throws like chairs or whatever over to like try to stop them in Scream fashion.
Yeah. And Gale's final moment in this movie, and probably most redeeming, is that she tells Sam and Tara not to tell Sidney
that she was done in by Ghostface.
That she was okay. Basically, because she knew that
Sidney would
come
because that's what did with Dewey, and then if she'd be like, I gotta put this man in the ground for killing my girl Gale.
Right.
So I actually love that. I love that she actually straight up tells him that so Sidney doesn't come in. Like I like how she cares about her safety and well being, especially like the first movie she didn't care. Second movie she didn't care. She was like, I just want the story.
Right.
It's like, as even in the new movie, like you can tell that part of that selfishness is there, but she cares about the people that she, has been with all these years.
Yes.
Like,
it's almost like she has like an issue with object permanence, like a child, in the sense that like the longer she's away from these characters, the less she cares about them. But as soon as she's back with them, she's like a team player all over again.
And I like that they kept it to where she cares. I would have.
It's definitely in line with the character, the way she acts.
Yeah. And again, like you said, we never see her again. We see that she goes to the hospital, and at the very end,
it's confirmed that she's alive.
Yeah, at the very end, they confirm that she makes it. But
one of many characters that they do that with in this movie.
Is this where we get to the train?
Basically, the characters, they all kind of convene and they talk with the detective as well as Kirby that they want to set up a trap at the Ghostface lair to lure in the Ghostface. And on their way there to meet with Kirby, the detective, he says, hey, I've got Kirby. She's going to meet you there and we're going to get this done. I'm stuck at the office, but I'll join you as soon as I can.
Yeah.
And the characters, they all go towards the train. At this point, we have a few characters meet up. Of course, we've got Mindy and Chad. They show up along with Sam and Tara. And then we've also got... What the hell's his name?
You talking about Ethan?
Yeah, nerd guy, Ethan.
I think out of all the characters, he's the only one that I'm like, stop.
So, and then actually also the pretty boy. He's there as well. And everyone except for Mindy
gets cut, and Ethan. And Mindy this entire time is like, stay away from me. And like, because Mindy thinks Ethan is the killer, and like she is like straight up telling him to get the fuck away because she thinks that he killed her girlfriend.
Right.
Like, so she's like, off.
So they end up having to take the second train. So they are 5 minutes behind the first.
This
and
scene is amazing. I love this train.
I do too. And while the first train full of most of the protagonists is in fact a misdirect, there are a few ghost face masks on it where, we're worried, and the characters are worried that they're in such a confined space.
Even though they're not the real Ghostface, all of them are like looking at him and stuff because like everyone thinks Sam's the killer and like they're like.
I wonder if that's due to the celebrity of it.
Yeah.
And that ends up just being what it is. But we've got.
Well, what's cool here is because like we bounce back and forth between the trains.
Yes, yeah, so, it's definitely paced a lot better than I'm putting it right now.
We go back and forth, and like in both trains, there's a bunch of ghost faces. Right? It's Halloween. They're all dressed up for the holiday.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of people who are idolizing Ghostface and wearing the Ghostface mask.
Yep.
And both trains are full of them, and like they all give them the stink eye. All of them give them stink eyes and stuff. And then on Mindy's, like she separates herself from Ethan. So Ethan's like over on like midway of the train, and she's like all the way in the back.
Yeah.
And
she works her way towards the back.
towards the back. And like all the ghost faces are standing up looking at her, whatever. And then there's a ghost face just sitting on the bench. Or the seat anyway. Yeah. And just sitting there just looking down. And then you go back to the full cast here I like because we are looking at them and like obviously most of them aren't real and stuff, but they really played it out that the one might have been. Because he's like standing there and it just does like the one shot.
Yep.
And then like he gets a little closer. Yep. And then it looks like he's going straight at him and he does a hard left.
Hard, yep.
So like they misdirect with that. And then obviously the one sitting down though is a real one.
In the
Mindy train.
Car with two.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the tension of this scene because once it locks in that as she moves her way away from Ethan towards the back, you realize that everyone in the back of the train is either asleep or facing forward or listening to headphones. He wouldn't have heard anything.
Yep.
And as soon as she got back there against that wall, I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
I was like, they just set up a way that a ghost face could completely get away with this. And we don't see Ethan, so we don't know if it is him or not, but we see a ghost face mask pop up looking right at her.
I love this because they play with the lighting a lot
Yes.
here because the train, like the power keeps going on and on.
Well, as they pass through the tunnel and then everything, the lights go out, and that is, each time that happens, Ghostface gets a little closer.
A little closer.
Just a little closer. And then, once I said, very tense scene, probably my favorite scene of this movie, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. I love this scene a lot.
I think the third act, the very end, is my favorite, but this is very, very, very good, and it's up there for me. I just like that, like, he just inches his way, and it keeps the tension that, like, when's he going to strike? When's he going to do it?
Right. And we're basically almost to the third act at this point.
Yeah, they're going to the third act right now.
I would argue we're basically
in the third act, yeah.
And
covers her mouth.
He covers her mouth and stabs in the same motion and pretty much in a very similar fashion to Annika. Almost kind of cuts up a little bit, but just not quite as far.
He mainly just twists and then he like goes back into. He does it a few times. And like this is where we're kind of like, really, they're killing Mindy in public. Come on, man.
I thought she was done.
Now this is the thing that we discussed a tiny bit. I didn't even catch this. You caught it.
What's that? Oh, about
we'll say the killer at the end. We'll just.
Are you sure?
Screw it.
We might as well. I mean, we're there.
We're at the third act basically. But Ethan is a killer.
Yeah, Ethan.
And Mindy was saying that he was a ghost face all this time, and he ends up being the killer. But what's weird that you pointed out that I never caught is like he goes and saves her.
Yeah, she wouldn't have lived. She lives, mind you. Another character that they did not want to pull the trigger on killing, which I'm happy. I like Mindy's character.
Awesome. But at the same time, it would have been like a big shock. Like, oh, they did it.
And yeah, I think that would have held some weight, seeing as how she was a returning character. Mm-hmm. But anyway, my thoughts on that aside, one thing I realized was that Ethan is the reason that she is able to get help and is saved. She survives. She's actually up and walking by the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. She's on drugs, but she's walking. But
I'm on so much drugs.
But interestingly enough, we find out that Ethan is one of the killers, and
with that in mind, it's weird. Like, why would he do that?
It is. It is definitely weird.
For us as audience, it's a misdirect, of course. Like, that's what it's there for. But, like, as movie purposes and killer motives and, like, their reasoning, like, why did he do that?
Well, my thing is, if it wasn't the end of the movie, this wasn't the night they planned on killing everyone, then maybe
Maybe it would've made sense.
Maybe I would get it because he wanted to cement that he's not the
wasn't,
killer.
yeah.
Because she even says, "Oh man, I got the killer wrong,"
She's like, God dang it, I did it again. I messed up.
but she was actually right. She just didn't realize it yet, or at all until she was told. But
Now, the end, she guesses too. Because remember when she's on drugs, she's like, yo, the killer is this and this. And then they're like, well.
yeah. But anyway, so that pretty much incapacitates those two characters from our storyline for now, as we follow the other train car
Which gets to the shrine.
Yes.
Which is led by Kirby.
Kirby leads them in, locks them in, and we leave the pretty boy behind.
Yeah, because they're like, you're not part of the four whatever.
Yeah, you're not from Woodsboro, so you can't be trusted for sure.
Well, I keep forgetting. Is it four? What is it?
The core.
Core four. Yeah,
core
core four. Yeah, they're like, Chad's just like, you're not part of the core four, man. So
Well, technically, not even because Mindy's not there. But
yeah, true.
yeah, but
Yeah, they go in with Kirby. Yeah, that's what they said from Woodsboro, not for the core four, because like Kirby was there and they were like, yeah, you're not from Woodsboro.
at the end.
Yeah, at the end they said it, but
they do it.
and this is where Kirby and them go down, and she locks it. And then
she shuts it.
This is where they note that like she's the only one with a weapon.
Yeah.
She's got the pistol. She's like, hey, I'm the only trained one here. I'm the FBI. Like, this is how it's gonna be. And at this point, I'm sorry, but I don't know about you, but I already told you. At this point, I was full sending that Kirby was a killer.
I thought they were going there because earlier on in the movie they talked to Gale about how, the events of, whether it be the previous movie or something, how it would have been so easy for her to snap and become such a great killer. Where in my mind is thinking, who else has that kind of power?
Yeah, she's like, yeah, Gale, it would have been interesting for you to be the killer. It's like, for Sydney, it wouldn't have made any sense. And Dewey, it was the fan favorite. And then she's like, but you snapping and wanting more, coverage and like being famous and stuff,
Right.
like, it would have made sense. And she's like, also, maybe you're mad that you weren't ever the star, you weren't Sydney. And
Right.
I love Gale because she's just like, yeah, I was the fan service basically.
Yeah, and honestly, all of those jabs at Gale,
That really made me think of Kirby too.
They made me think of Kirby. Mm-hmm. And another thing was, how is the killer getting all of these masks and different stuff? Well, you find out that they have to be connected to law enforcement. Well, how many law enforcement characters do we know in the movie?
Yep.
2.
Sheriff and Kirby.
So my brain at this point in the movie was full leaning into Kirby. It wasn't until she disappeared that I was like, that's too obvious. I no longer think it's Kirby.
When she disappears, I'm like, that's sus, but it might be a misdirect for us to not think about her anymore.
See, that was my thought.
There is a point in this movie where the detective calls them when they're in the shrine at this point, like it's still the third act. And the detective calls and tells Sam that like
she's no longer
Kirby's no longer part of the FBI. She's been mentally unstable and like she's no longer, she shouldn't be here. And that's when I'm like, okay, I'm like that it's not Kirby anymore.
Right.
That's what changed my mind.
Yeah, and he even could have been making that up, but the only reason I know he didn't, or the only reason they make us even show that he didn't, was because it does show him asking for everything they can find on, wherever it says Atlanta.
Yeah,
station
they
or
ask,
whatever.
get all the knowledge on Kirby Reed, and
So
it makes sense. He
comes
didn't just
off
come
as-
out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Like,
it comes off as borderline genuine. So very interesting as far as that goes, and pretty much when we
Well, Sam goes up to, before anything actually goes down here, Sam ends up going back up to the shrine part where it has all the outfits, and she talks to Billy basically again.
for the second time.
And Billy's like, Billy's trying to get her just to kill everyone.
Yeah,
he's like,
clear the place.
Yeah, he's like, clear the place. You ain't safe here. You know that. And then she ends up taking the
She does
knife.
take the knife
And I love that because it closed, and he's like, nice one. He's like, that one's my favorite because it was the knife he
was his.
used.
And then we get some ghost face interaction. At this point, we still think it's Kirby because
Yeah.
she's still gone.
Well,
I'm just getting to the Chad separation part.
Yeah, because Chad and Tara are together.
Yeah, and
This is where the Ghostface first pop, and I love this scene because this is where Tara and Chad finally seal the deal. They're
Yep.
talking to each other and they kiss, and then Chad's like, "Man, I've been wanting to do this for so long." And she's like, "Yeah, you should have," but she's like, "You could do it more." And then they like start to kiss again, and then Ghostface just comes out of nowhere, dude, and just stabs Tara in the back.
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" And then this is where like Chad's putting in some moves. Like he's hitting them and he's like dodging all the knives and stuff. And like this is when like
It was all fine and dandy until
the second one comes
get-
out.
we
This
get
is
the
the
reveal in a
first
second.
scene we ever get of two Ghostface at the same time, like in the outfit together.
Is it really?
Yes, 100%. Cotton.
all right.
This is the first scene where like two
Like,
of them
not
are
unmasked
yeah,
or anything?
like they're both there because like they're like trying to fight him or whatever, and then the other one pops around the corner and Chad's just chilling there trying to like fight him off, and then stab, stab, stab. They're both just straight up one's on this side of him, one's on this side of him, and they're just stabbing him crazily in the stomach and chest. And Chad's just telling him to go. He's like, go, leave, run. Doesn't that seem cool though?
It is,
Like-
and that was a very sad. I mean, like it didn't go slow motion, but you know, it felt like it slowed it down just a little bit, and then the music and then
Yeah.
everything. It really was a sad scene, and it felt like it felt like the end of Chad.
Yeah, it really
You
felt
know?
like he was gone. Like
Yes.
he gets brutally stabbed by both. Like the scene's so cool because they both like I said, the first time we've seen this, and I love that. And like they're both just going at it, and it's like Jesus, dude, calm down.
Mind you, at this point, we have 3 characters.
We have 3.
Actually, yeah, I mean, okay, yes, we have 3 characters that we believe to be dead
Yeah.
that will not die.
So we have Sam, Tara, Kirby, and the sheriff. Basically, is what we're looking at here.
Yes, and we have a 4th right now at this point who we believe to be dead, who is not.
Yeah.
And that brings us into the next point as Samantha and Tara are, you know, kind of basically rounded back into the main room once again.
Because one comes out from the screen room, and then the other one's like right here, like on the other side, and they're like holding bricks, and they're like, Tara, it sounds like Tara, are you ready? And she doesn't say anything. She's like, you gotta be ready because
Right.
like they're gonna come at her.
Yep.
And then this is when like
Well, Kirby
Kirby
comes
comes
in.
from
Kirby
the
comes in
stage.
before when there's just one.
yes.
Yes, because Kirby comes in when there's one.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
she shoots him off, but then that's when the detective comes in.
This scene is awesome.
he's
dude.
like, you can't trust her. You can't do this or that.
Yeah,
And
they're
then-
they're both at gunpoint, and like Sam and Tara are kind of just like, what do we do? And
Right.
like Kirby's pointing it at him, he's pointing it at her, and then you see in the background
Of the detective.
Ghostface coming in, and then Kirby obviously thinks that Ghostface is gonna stab him,
Right.
so she goes to shoot, and then she shoots or tries to. I don't remember if she gets it off.
I don't think she gets a
But
shot.
then
off,
the
but
detective
he
shoots her.
He
And then-
prematurely shoots her.
Yeah, and then that's when, because we're just like, okay, they just shot each other because they both think they're Ghostface, and then the Ghostface runs up to him and then stops, dead
Yep.
tracks, just straight up just goes dead.
Yep.
And that's when we're met with realization that the detective
The
is part of it.
detective is a part of it, and we're thinking, okay, he was the second Ghostface this whole time.
And then just
But-
off screen, dude, the third one just walks in. We're like,
Third
wait.
one runs in
Wasn't it so cool just to see 2 of them together on screen and then just knowing
with
that
a
there's a
guy in
third
the
one?
middle.
It
Yes.
was so cool. And like they don't both take it off at the same time. They're just like, what? They're like, why, Sheriff, basically. And then this is when
You know what I think should have happened?
what?
My humble opinion, if I were writing this movie,
Okay.
leave the third Ghostface masked, and they get away. They realize that the odds are overwhelming, and they get away, and that's how we go into the third movie.
I would have been down.
I think that would have been so cool. We'll get into it. Ethan,
Yeah, Ethan's the first one that
Unmasked
takes it
first.
off. And like there's a lot of us were, because we were in a pretty filled theater. It wasn't fully packed, but it was filled enough. There was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And like basically everyone's reaction was kind of just like,
oh yeah, makes sense.
makes sense. Like we all knew Ethan, because the one guy down at the bottom was like, I knew it was him.
Yeah.
So I was just sitting there like, who's the third one? I'm like, I don't understand who's left.
Yeah, who is left, honestly.
And then turns out it's Quinn.
Yep.
She faked her death,
She faked-
basically.
With the help of her father.
Yeah.
Which it's a family operation.
Yes.
We find out
we,
that
well, we knew like early in the movie that like that the sheriff's son, or the detective, not sheriff, the detective's son died in like a car crash,
yeah,
and they were just
yeah,
like,
because Quinn said that her dad was overbearing as well.
yeah. And turns out this is amazing. It turns out that this family here, they're a family, dad, daughter, son. They're all related to Richie from Scream 5.
Yeah, they're his siblings and father. And I think once again a great tie into that. You also find out in this moment that this whole shrine isn't actually the 2 wannabe killers.
Yeah, it's
It's Richie's, which I guess they were his friends.
Yeah.
Enough so that they wanted to kill for him. So hypothetically, they could have also helped him set it up. That might not have been a complete lie,
lie, yeah.
but
Well, the dad said that he made it for
But
him.
he made it. Oh, that's right. He did make it after the fact.
Yeah, the
right.
dad made it for him.
Right. You're right. You're right.
Because he was obsessed with the stab movies.
You're right.
And, he made it for him, And then this is where they're kind of like, and this is where you're all going to die. Because the motive basically is to get revenge on Richie dying. And they were like, everyone who had a factor in the play of his death is going to die here. Especially like Sam and like Tara, because they were the main ones.
Yeah.
And
And
which is weird they don't go for Sydney. Like I said, that's where Sydney could have plugged in, because Sydney did kind of help with the killing
yeah,
Richie
just
and
keep
Amber.
her as far away as possible.
But they kept her far, and I'm cool with that decision. Like I said, coming into this, I was a little worried with no Sydney. But
yeah.
honestly, like I said, they did amazing without her too. Like that's not to say that like I wholeheartedly want her to come back in 7. Like I love Sydney. Sydney's my final girl, man.
Right.
But I don't want them to hand fist her in either. It's one of those things that like if you don't have an idea for her, that's fine.
Don't waste the character.
Yeah, don't waste her. Don't make her like just be a waste of space. Use her for if you have an idea.
Right. Which she was badass in 5,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a criticism I had of 5, was that it didn't feel like she did too much other than feeling necessary to have a goodbye for Dewey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And even then they just talked on the phone. So,
But this is where
they do their thing and then they go on the run, right?
because
Then they go to the top level.
Quinn gets straight up bashed in the face by Sam with a
brick.
and it's gross because you just see all her
You
teeth
see
on the
teeth
ground.
bloody. Ugh.
And this is where they kind of like run upstairs, basically.
Yep.
And how does it happen? I forget, because like they end up to where like Tara ends up like hanging over the balcony.
I don't remember. Weirdly enough, I don't remember. All I remember is that Sam is holding her on the balcony, but her arm is
Bloody.
Yeah, her arm is
she's
bloody
slipping.
from where she was. She had stabbed Ethan.
Yeah, because she doesn't
Yeah.
kill Ethan, but she like stabs him a bunch of times.
Yes, because that's how they kind of borderline incapacitated them
To get away.
To get away, but then Sam is trying to hold Tara. Tara is slipping.
And
Ethan is below.
Ethan's below trying
to
to-
swipe.
Do you like the line that he says? He's like, I've always wanted to like stick something in
Yeah.
you, Tara. Like, what?
Retweet.
Whole entire internet be like.
Retweet.
It's funny though, because you have him down there doing that. The detective is basically just like watching.
Well, and then you've got
Quinn's coming.
Quinn comes from the
Top.
She enters on the top level, and that's when I think both girls kind of realize they each have someone to deal with right here.
Yeah.
And
I love this because, like, again, this is one of those things that was like prevalent through the movie. Like, Sam's always on Tara.
it
always
ties into
on
the
her.
character arc.
And like Tara's
She
like, you
needs to
gotta let
trust
go.
her.
You gotta let go. You gotta trust me. Let go.
Yes.
And she like kind of like goes like this to like, because Billy's knife is in Sam's like holster there.
Yep.
She ends up giving it to her. She falls down, and I like this.
She gets stabbed in the process.
She does. She gets
But-
stabbed in like the stomach, but then she just goes whoosh, right in his mouth.
Right. Yep.
A little twist there. I love that Tara got to actually like do a lot more though in this movie, because
Yes.
Tara was a character
She
in
was
5 that was just
crippled in the last one.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
and this one she gets stabby.
Yep. And that was well pretty much all we see from that for now, because then we focus up top.
Quinn gets bonked
Yes.
with a gun.
Yeah. Quinn brought a knife to a gunfight, and just instantly headshot.
Yep.
She does a smile with her. A couple teeth.
She like
and then
spits blood too.
Yeah, and then she wants to charge, gets a headshot, and then
Isn't the detective? Yeah, the detective's
he's directly
behind Quinn.
behind. Like as her body drops, that reveals that he was right behind her. And then Samantha, of course, goes for the
Out of
second
ammo.
shot. She's out of ammo.
This is the goofy scene because you could tell that the detective wasn't really the killer, because like the dude had like a gun.
He had a gun and he ran at
He
her.
ran at her.
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
what?
I forgot about that, but I remember hating that so much.
But then again, it makes sense because you know that Ethan and Quinn were the killers, basically.
okay, yeah, but he's still a cop.
True.
He's still trained. Like
True.
so, I don't buy that.
It's
as
so
a-
funny because he like runs and then they like clash and then like
Yeah.
he shoots upward.
Yeah, so that they throw each other off, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They both fall off, but when he gets up, when he like, because it kind of like cuts for a second,
Sam's gone.
When he wakes up, Sam is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love this because that's when Sam calls her, or calls him, the detective.
Sam calls him, and of course she's got the voice modulator on.
You see, also we never mentioned it, but like
Projector?
the projector. Yeah, there's a projector on, and it's playing the stab. Well, it plays a lot of like Richie's home video stab
Yeah.
movies because he was like a filmmaker before like trying to make a movie. So he was just in general obsessed with stab, making his own stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So he was making like fan made stuff. But at the end there, though, I think at this scene where like he's actually like looking for something, I'm pretty sure the original Stab 1 movie was playing because you hear like. I swear I heard the girl who plays Drew Barrymore in Stab 1 just go, I just met you and I already don't like you. Like that, I heard that in the
Right.
background. So I was like, okay, it's playing Stab 1 now. But he's behind the projector, like looking around. He's like shooting all the like mannequins that were
Yes,
holding the.
thinking that she
Was in one of them.
under one of them, and then of course that's when you see that the one
Billy's.
where her father's was, the robes are actually missing.
Yeah.
And then the whole time where they've been trying to get her to put on the mask so they can pin all of these killings on her and make her into the bad person and ruin her reputation.
Yeah, and then she does it.
She does it on her own accord.
And she's
to
like, isn't this what you wanted?
strike fear into the hearts of the people that would hurt her and the ones around her. And, it's such a badass scene.
Oh, yeah. And then she just comes in and just goes hard on him more than she did Richie.
Yeah,
I swear to God.
working her way up his arm.
She said in the beginning, I'm pretty sure it was 22 on Richie. I swear to God. She doubled it. 44.
Had to have.
And it's cool because the camera shot like went like around and did like a circle view of like Ghostface just kind of like it was
Yeah.
really cool. And like he's just like bleeding to death basically. He's like, ugh. And this is where like Tara kind of walks in. And this, I don't know if you felt this, but like this is where tension for me, because I was going into this thinking maybe Tara might be part of something here.
Yeah.
And
Well, I didn't feel that, but I felt there was a tension between them. Like, is this okay? Is this not okay? But ultimately, they end up on the same page.
yeah, well, the way it's shot, like chest basically up of Tara, you don't see like below her like her hands. So I'm just sitting there going, okay, and like you could see that like Tara's just like giving her like the dirty look basically, kind of like, I don't know if we should do this, if we should leave him alive, because the whole thing was just like, I'm not a killer.
Right.
Sam's like, I'm not a killer. I don't want to kill people. And then like Tara's just kind of like sus. I swear. Like there was some tension there, and it was intended because obviously it was like to figure out if they should kill him or not.
Right.
But like I was interpreting it as like maybe there's a
That
final.
man was dying anyway.
Oh, yeah.
After what she'd already done.
Oh yeah. But I was thinking maybe there's a final twist because Tara was just like looking at her. And I'm like, man, I would not be surprised if she just went whoop.
I know.
I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe. But yeah, she was like, I'm not a killer. And then he's just like, oh, thank God. He's like, thank you for keeping me alive. And then she goes, but you did screw up my family. So,
Yeah. That was the eye, right?
yeah.
That was, once again, brutal all the way around. And that kind of,
Wraps up the killers here.
that honestly wraps up about everything with this movie. I mean, there's a little bit at the end. We get the reveal that
Chad lives.
We get the reveal that Gail is basically in critical condition but alive.
But alive. And then Chad.
Mindy had made her way to the location. She's fine as well.
Yeah, she comes in and she's like, the killers is the detective and Ethan. And then they're just like, well, you kind of got it right.
Right. And then we get, Kirby gets sent out. She basically says, if you need me, call me. And then Tara gets sad about Chad. And that's when Chad gets wheeled out. And we find out that he's
the new Dewey.
Yes, he also still stayed alive.
He just gets stabbed all the time and lives.
I know. I love him.
And it's funny because one of the like reviewers, like this is the end of the movie now. This is when credits roll, and like, well, there is that one scene where Sam sneaks Billy's mask out.
Yes.
She sneaks the original mask that Billy wore and Stu wore, and she brings it out, and she has it like underneath her coat.
Yes.
And it does like that suspenseful, tense scene where she's looking at it, and it's like playing that music where like, oh, she might be using this, but then she just drops it on the ground and walks away.
Makes
with
the
Tara.
conscious decision to still leave it behind. So something that she didn't really fully struggle with the decision to do at the end of the first movie, because it was, I don't want to say self-defense, but it was borderline self-defense with Richie.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, it felt a little more glorious, I'm sure. And then at the end, she still rejects the idea that she is a killer. So once again, with that tension potentially there with Tara, the seeds are planted that could be a huge plot point in the finale of these characters.
Yep.
Which I'm assuming that this is a trilogy and not anything more. And I think that just makes sense.
I mean, I'm down for Scream 7 being the final one for a while. At least, I don't know. I love Scream, and I'd love to see more, but I don't want to see them tarnish the brand. 'Cause
Right.
like I said, other than 3, this franchise is consistently known for being amazing, or at least good.
I agree.
So, I mean,
So
this is where the credits roll, and like I was saying, I saw like critical reviews of like the ones that like scream themselves on Twitter.
Now
retweeting.
there's a flash
Yeah.
of a Ghostface confirming once again that
Wes
they're
Craven
working
in 1 and 2 would at the beginning of the credits always had it to where Ghostface would like slash or pop up to be like he's coming back,
Right.
and they did it at the end before the credits roll.
Yeah.
And then the credits start rolling, and like I said, online when Scream retweeted a bunch of like early reviewers, I was like, okay, it's safe to read these ones because they're not going to spoil anything.
Yes.
But one of them did say that there was an end credit scene. So we're like, okay. And usually when there's end credit scenes, you know, you have like your first set of credits and then it usually does the credit scene.
Yes.
And then it does the next credits.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're watching. It does the first part and then it goes and we're like, okay, here it is. And then it goes to more credits. We're like, is
More.
there one? I don't know. And then it gets to the end.
Very end.
And then it just pops up and it's Mindy outside and she's like, not every movie has to have, you know, an end credit scene. And that was it.
And that was it. I love it. Great film. Great film overall. And once again, 8.5,
9.5.
9.5. But we're getting pretty long in the tooth here.
Yeah,
so,
we really wanted to keep this at an hour, but I feel like we went over with our non-spoiler
We
review.
did,
So.
but it's perfectly fine. I hope you find some joy in this episode. Consider looking back at the rest of the franchise. We've already recorded our next episode because we wanted to stay a week ahead of our uploads, and that is going to be over M. Night Shyamalan's Old. An interesting film.
What a movie.
That episode won't be anywhere near as long as this one, but consider subscribing. We have either just reached or are about to reach 1,000 subscribers whenever you see this, and let us know if you got to the end of the video. But yeah, thanks for watching, and if you do, I appreciate it. Consider sharing, and look forward to weekly episodes about movies and with reviews, and also game reviews and things like that from my channel, as well as whatever he's working on over at Booins.
Working on a Left 4 Dead 2 video. That's basically it.
All right, well, thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Bye.